The morning does not arrive all at once. It comes slowly, almost as if it is careful not to disturb anything that still rests in the quiet. The light moves gently across the land, touching the tops of trees before it reaches the ground. The air remains cool, holding onto the softness of the night just a little longer. The small wooden house stands where it has always stood, settled into the earth as if it belongs there completely. Nothing about it feels new, and nothing feels out of place. Each board, each beam, carries the quiet memory of many days just like this one. Inside, the fire has begun to wake. The flame is steady now, no longer just a faint glow. It flickers softly, creating small shadows that move across the walls. These shadows are slow and calm, never sharp or sudden. They stretch and fade, then return again, following the rhythm of the fire. The person inside the house moves with the same quiet rhythm. There is no need to think about what comes next. The morning has been lived many times before, and each step follows naturally from the last. A hand reaches for a simple tool, then pauses for a moment, resting lightly on the wood as if feeling its shape. The air inside the room begins to warm. It is not a strong warmth, but a gentle one. Just enough to take away the chill. Just enough to make the space feel lived in again. Outside, the land opens slowly to the day. The dew on the grass remains, though it has begun to thin. Each small drop catches the light in its own quiet way, then disappears without notice. The ground beneath is soft, slightly uneven, shaped by time and weather rather than design. A breeze passes through the trees. It is light, almost uncertain, as if it is simply testing the air. The leaves respond with a soft rustling sound, one that rises and fades without ever becoming loud. The path beside the house remains empty. It curves gently through the clearing, then disappears into the trees. There are no fresh footprints yet. No sign of movement. Only the faint marks left from earlier days, slowly blending back into the earth. Inside, the simple meal has been prepared. It is placed carefully, without hurry. Each movement is deliberate, but not forced. There is a kind of quiet understanding in the way things are done, as if the hands know their work without needing to be told. The first bite is taken slowly. There is no distraction, no rush to finish. The moment is allowed to exist fully, just as it is. The warmth of the fire, the softness of the light, the stillness of the room, all of it settles together into something calm and steady. Time moves, but it does not press forward. It simply unfolds. After the meal, there is a pause. Not because anything must be considered, but because there is no need to move immediately. The body rests where it is, the mind quiet, the world outside continuing without interruption. A chair, simple and worn, sits near the hearth. It has been used many times, its surface smoothed by years of quiet mornings and evenings. When the person sits, the chair responds with a soft, familiar sound. Not a complaint, but a recognition. The fire continues its slow work. The wood shifts slightly as it burns, settling deeper into the warmth. Small sparks rise and fade, disappearing into the air before they can be noticed for long. Outside, the light grows stronger. The sun has now arisen above the trees, though it remains gentle. It does not shine harshly. Instead, it spreads a soft brightness across the land, revealing details that were hidden in the early gray. The garden beside the house becomes clearer. Rows of plants stretch low to the ground, their leaves still damp from the night. Some are small, just beginning to grow. Others are fuller, their shapes more defined. Each one stands quietly, rooted in place, moving only slightly when the breeze returns. The fence around the garden is simple. It is made from wood that has weathered over time, its surface rough but strong. It does not stand perfectly straight, but it holds its place without effort. A distant sound appears. It is faint at first, almost easy to miss. The soft lowing of an animal, carried gently through the air. It does not break the silence. It becomes part of it. Inside the house, the day continues to take shape. A small cloth is folded and set aside. A tool is lifted, then placed again in a different spot. Each action is small, but it belongs to the flow of the morning. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is delayed. Everything happens in its own quiet time. The door to the house remains closed for now. It stands as a simple barrier between the inside and the outside, though there is no real separation. The sounds of the land still reach through it, softened but present. The person pauses near the door. Not for any urgent reason, but simply to stand for a moment. To feel the stillness. To notice the way the light shifts across the floor. A hand rests lightly against the wood of the door. The surface is cool, carrying the memory of the night air. It feels solid and steady, unchanged from yesterday, and likely unchanged from many days before that. There is a quiet breath. Then another. The latch is lifted slowly. The door opens with a soft, familiar sound. It does not creak loudly. It simply moves, as it has always moved, revealing the world outside in a gentle, gradual way. The air that enters is fresh and cool. It carries the scent of earth and leaves, of wood and open space. It is a scent that does not demand attention, but it lingers softly, filling the space without effort. The step outside is unhurried. The ground feels different beneath the feet, softer than the wooden floor, slightly uneven, alive in a quiet way. The dew still clings to the grass, brushing lightly with each step. The world beyond the house feels wide. Not empty, but open. There is space here, enough for the day to stretch without feeling crowded. The trees stand at a distance, their shadows still long and soft. The sky above them is pale, slowly deepening into a gentle blue. A bird moves from one branch to another. Its wings make a brief, soft sound, then settle again into stillness. Nothing else changes. And yet, everything continues. The person walks a short distance from the house, stopping near the edge of the garden. There is no urgency in the movement. Only a quiet intention, carried out without thought. A hand reaches down, touching the leaves of one of the plants. The surface is cool and slightly wet. The leaf bends gently, then returns to its place when released. There is no need to hurry. The day is still young. And it will remain slow. The breeze returns again, a little more certain this time. It moves through the clearing, brushing against the fence, the plants, the edges of the house. It carries with it the faint sound of distant life, nothing sharp, nothing loud, just a reminder that the world continues beyond what can be seen. The person stands for a while. Looking, but not searching. Listening, but not expecting. Simply being there, in the quiet beginning of a day that holds nothing unusual, nothing urgent, and nothing that needs to be remembered. Only the steady passage of time. And the soft unfolding of another uneventful morning. The morning continues without interruption. The light has grown a little warmer now, though it still feels soft as it settles across the ground. It does not rush or press forward. It simply spreads, slowly reaching places that were moments ago still touched by shadow. The person remains near the garden for a while longer. There is no task that demands attention yet. Only the quiet habit of being present, of noticing small changes that come and go without announcement. A leaf shifts. A drop of water falls from its edge. The soil beneath holds its shape, dark and steady. A hand moves gently through the plants again. Not to gather, not to change anything, but simply to feel. The leaves are firm in some places, more delicate in others. Each one carries a quiet life of its own, growing without sound, without urgency. Nearby, the fence casts a faint shadow. It stretches across the ground in uneven lines, shaped by the slight bends in the wood. As the sun rises, these shadows shift almost without being seen, changing their place slowly, as if time itself is moving through them. The breeze returns once more. It moves a little farther this time, brushing past the edge of the clearing and into the open land beyond. The grass bends lightly, then lifts again. Nothing is disturbed for long. From somewhere farther away, the low sound of movement returns. It is steady, calm, and familiar. An animal grazing, perhaps, moving slowly through its own morning. The sound does not grow louder. It remains distant, blending into the quiet rhythm of the day. The person steps back from the garden. Each step is unhurried, pressing lightly into the earth before lifting again. There is no clear destination, only a gentle movement back toward the house. The door remains open. It stands where it was left, allowing the morning air to pass freely in and out. The scent of the outdoors now fills the inside space more fully, softening the boundary between the two. Inside, the fire has settled into a steady burn. The flames are lower now, but more constant. The wood has begun to break down into glowing coals, giving off a quiet, lasting warmth. The small crackling sound continues, steady and reassuring. The person pauses at the doorway. Not to close it, not yet. Only to stand between inside and outside for a moment. The warmth of the fire rests behind, while the cool air of the morning still lingers ahead. There is no need to choose quickly. After a while, the step is taken back inside. The floor greets each movement with its soft, familiar creak. The room feels warmer now than it did before, though the air remains fresh. The light entering through the window and doorway creates a calm balance of brightness and shadow. A small table sits near the wall. Its surface is plain, worn smooth by use. A few simple items rest upon it, placed with quiet care. Nothing is out of order. Nothing feels misplaced. One of the items is moved slightly. Not because it must be, but because it feels natural to do so. The hands adjust it, then pause, resting lightly for a moment before moving away. Time passes in these small actions. Not measured, not counted, but felt in the slow unfolding of each moment. Outside, the sun continues its steady rise. The shadows grow shorter now, though still soft at their edges. The light reaches deeper into the clearing, touching the side of the house, warming the wood just enough to change its scent slightly. The air begins to shift. It is still cool, but there is a hint of warmth beginning to form beneath it. A quiet promise of the day ahead, though not a strong one. Just a subtle change, easy to overlook. Inside, the person moves toward the hearth once more. A piece of wood is adjusted. Another is added gently, placed with care so as not to disturb the steady burn. The fire responds slowly, its light flickering a little brighter before settling again. There is a rhythm to this. A rhythm that does not need to be spoken or planned. It simply continues. The room remains quiet. There are no sudden sounds, no sharp movements. Only the soft presence of the fire, the faint shifting of wood, and the distant sounds carried in from outside. The chair by the hearth waits, just as before. The person returns to it, sitting slowly, allowing the body to rest once more. There is no sign of weariness, only a quiet acceptance of stillness. The hands rest gently. The eyes move without urgency, taking in the familiar shapes of the room. The walls, the table, the doorway, the light. All of it remains as it was, unchanged, steady. Outside, the clearing feels a little more awake. Not in a loud or busy way, but in a quiet sense of presence. The birds have begun to move more frequently, though their sounds remain soft and spaced apart. One lands briefly near the fence. It pauses, still and alert, then lifts again without warning, disappearing into the trees. The moment is small, almost unnoticed, yet it fits perfectly into the flow of the morning. The path beyond the house remains empty. No footsteps have crossed it yet today. The earth holds its quiet shape, marked only by the passage of earlier times. It waits, though not for anything in particular. The breeze shifts again. It comes from a slightly different direction now, carrying with it a faint change in scent. Perhaps from the deeper woods, or from the open land beyond. It is subtle, gentle, and soon it fades. Inside, the person breathes slowly. Each breath is steady, unforced. The stillness of the room settles more deeply, as if it has nowhere else to go. Time continues to move. But it does not press. It does not hurry. It simply unfolds, one quiet moment after another. The fire softens again. The coals glow steadily, their light dim but constant. The warmth remains, though it is gentle now, just enough to hold the room in comfort. The light from outside grows stronger still. It reaches farther across the floor, touching the legs of the table, the base of the chair, the edges of the walls. The patterns shift slowly, almost too slowly to notice unless one remains very still. And so, the morning deepens. Not into anything new or unexpected, but into more of the same quiet, steady passing of time. A day that asks for nothing more than to be lived, slowly and without interruption. The morning settles into itself a little more. The light is no longer pale. It has taken on a soft golden tone, spreading gently across the clearing and resting on the surface of the wooden house. The warmth is still mild, not strong, but it is there, slowly building in a way that feels natural and unforced. Inside, the room holds its quiet balance. The fire remains steady, though it asks for little attention now. The coals glow with a calm, steady light, giving off a warmth that does not change quickly. The air feels still, but not empty. It carries the quiet presence of everything within it. The person sits for a while longer. There is no need to rise immediately. The chair supports the body in a familiar way, its shape known and unchanged. The hands rest easily, sometimes shifting slightly, then becoming still again. Nothing presses forward. Nothing calls for urgency. After some time, the person stands. The movement is slow and natural, without strain. The chair gives a soft sound as it is left behind, returning to its place near the hearth. It remains there, just as it was, waiting without expectation. A small task begins. It is not a large or demanding one. Just a quiet piece of the day, something that fits easily into the flow of time. A container is lifted, its surface smooth from use. It is carried with steady hands, neither heavy nor light, simply familiar. The door remains open. The air moves through it in a gentle exchange, inside and outside meeting without resistance. The scent of wood smoke drifts outward, while the scent of earth and grass continues to drift in. The person steps outside again. The ground has begun to warm slightly under the sun. The dew has nearly disappeared now, leaving the grass soft but no longer wet. Each step presses lightly into the earth, leaving only the faintest mark. The garden waits quietly. The plants stand where they were before, unchanged in any obvious way. Growth here is slow, almost invisible from one moment to the next. But it continues all the same, beneath the surface, within each leaf and stem. The container is set down nearby. There is a pause, as if allowing the moment to settle before continuing. Then, slowly, the work begins. It is careful and measured, each motion following the last without hurry. The soil is touched, moved slightly. A small adjustment here, another there. Nothing dramatic, nothing that alters the shape of the garden in any clear way. Only small changes, made with patience. The breeze moves through again. It carries a soft warmth now, though it remains gentle. It brushes past the plants, causing them to sway just enough to be noticed, then returns them to stillness. From the distance, the low sound returns once more. It feels closer than before, though still far enough to remain soft. A steady presence, moving at its own pace, unconcerned with anything else. The sky above has cleared. There are no heavy clouds, only a wide stretch of pale blue. The light falls evenly across the land, without sharp contrast, without harsh edges. The person continues the quiet work. Each motion is simple. Each moment passes without resistance. There is no need to think ahead, no need to finish quickly. The task itself is enough. After a while, the movement slows. The hands come to rest. The container remains where it is, no longer in use for now. There is no sense of completion or ending. Only a natural pause. The person stands still. Looking over the small garden, not searching for anything in particular. Just noticing what is there. The leaves, the soil, the fence, the light. All of it remains calm. All of it continues without change. A bird lands on the fence. It stays for a little longer this time, its small body steady, its movements minimal. It turns slightly, then stills again. There is no sudden flight, no sharp sound. Only a quiet presence. After a moment, it lifts away. Its wings move softly, carrying it back toward the trees, where it disappears into the stillness once more. The person turns slowly. There is no urgency in the movement. Only a quiet decision to step away from the garden. The path back to the house is short, but it is taken at the same gentle pace as before. The doorway remains open. The shadow it casts has shifted slightly, shorter now, softer at its edges. The light reaches farther inside, touching places that were dim earlier. Stepping inside again feels natural. The transition is smooth, without any clear boundary. The air is slightly warmer within, though still fresh. The scent of the fire lingers gently, blending with the outside air. The room looks the same. Nothing has changed in any noticeable way. The table, the chair, the hearth all remain where they were, holding their quiet places. The fire has softened further. The coals glow low, their light dim but steady. They do not ask for attention, only for time to pass. The person moves slowly across the room. A cloth is lifted, then folded again, though it was already neatly placed. The action is small, almost unnecessary, but it fits into the quiet rhythm of the morning. There is no need to explain it. The body moves as it always has, guided by habit and ease. The light continues to shift. It reaches across the floor, then along the wall, changing its place without being noticed directly. The patterns it creates are soft, blending into one another as time moves forward. Outside, the clearing remains still. The breeze has quieted for the moment. The trees stand without movement, their leaves resting in place. The distant sounds have faded again, leaving only the soft presence of the day. The path remains empty. No footsteps have come. No one has passed. It simply exists, as it always has, waiting without expectation. Inside, the person pauses once more. Standing near the center of the room, not moving, not thinking of anything in particular. Just present in the moment as it passes. A slow breath fills the space. Then another. Time continues. Unchanged. Unhurried. The morning is no longer new. But it is still gentle. And it continues, quietly, without interruption, just as it began. The day moves forward, though it does not feel like movement. The light has settled into a steady brightness now. It rests across the clearing and along the wooden walls of the house, no longer changing quickly, only shifting in ways so small they are almost invisible. The warmth has grown a little, soft and even, touching the air without pressing into it. Inside, the room remains calm. The fire has quieted further. The coals are low, their glow faint but still present, like a memory of warmth rather than its full presence. The air holds that warmth gently, without change, without demand. The person stands where they were for a moment longer. There is no reason to hurry into the next part of the day. No signal that something must begin. Only a quiet understanding that time is passing, and with it, the simple tasks that belong to it. At last, there is a small shift. The body turns slightly, and the feet move across the floor. Each step carries the same soft sound as before, a gentle creak that rises and fades without sharpness. Near the wall, a few tools rest in their place. They are simple, shaped by use and time. Their surfaces are worn in the places where hands have held them most often. Nothing about them is new, and nothing needs to be. One is lifted. The weight is familiar. It fits easily into the hand, neither heavy nor light, just as it has always been. The movement is steady, unthinking, guided by habit more than decision. The door remains open still. The outside air continues to move through it, bringing with it the quiet presence of the clearing. The sounds remain soft, scattered, never gathering into anything loud. The person steps outside once again. The ground feels warmer now. The sun has had time to settle into the earth, and the coolness of the early morning has faded into something more balanced. The grass bends slightly under each step, then returns to its place. The sky above is clear and wide. It stretches without interruption, holding the light evenly. There are no signs of change, no movement that draws attention. Only the steady presence of the day. The path lies just beyond the house. It looks the same as it did before. No new marks, no fresh signs of passing. The earth has softened slightly as the moisture from the night has faded, but it remains firm beneath the surface. The person walks a short distance along it. Not far. Just enough to step beyond the immediate space of the house. The movement is slow, without purpose beyond the act itself. The tool is carried quietly. It does not swing or shift. It simply rests in the hand, moving only as much as needed. Nearby, the land opens a little more. The trees stand farther apart here, allowing more light to reach the ground. The grass grows unevenly, thicker in some places, thinner in others. Small patches of bare earth show through, shaped by footsteps and time. The breeze returns again. It is warmer now, though still gentle. It moves across the open space, touching everything lightly before passing on. The leaves respond with a soft sound, one that comes and goes without lingering. From the distance, the quiet presence of life continues. A soft movement. A faint call. Nothing that breaks the calm, only small reminders that the world is wide and quietly active beyond what can be seen. The person pauses along the path. There is no clear reason to stop. Only a natural slowing, a moment where movement becomes stillness. The eyes rest on the land, not searching, not measuring, just noticing. Time passes in the stillness. It does not feel long. It does not feel short. It simply exists. After a while, the person turns back toward the house. The steps are as steady as before. The path remains unchanged beneath them, holding each movement without resistance. The house stands where it always has. Its shape is simple against the light, its presence steady and unchanging. The open door still marks the quiet connection between inside and outside. Stepping closer, the scent of the fire returns. It is faint now, carried gently through the air. It blends with the scent of wood and earth, creating something soft and familiar. The person enters once more. The transition is smooth. The light shifts slightly as the doorway is crossed, the brightness outside giving way to the softer tones within. The tool is set down. It is placed where it belongs, without sound, without thought. It rests as it always has, waiting without expectation. The room remains as it was. Nothing has moved in any significant way. The chair stands near the hearth. The table holds its simple arrangement. The air is still, warm in a quiet, steady way. The fire has nearly settled. Only a few coals remain bright. The rest have dimmed, turning slowly to ash. There is no need to tend to it immediately. It continues its slow fading without concern. The person moves to the table. A hand rests lightly against its surface. The wood feels smooth, worn by time and use. There is a quiet comfort in that familiarity. A small object is lifted. It is simple, like everything else here. Its purpose is known, but it does not demand attention. It is held for a moment, then turned slightly, as if to feel its shape again. The light from the doorway reaches farther inside now. It stretches across the floor and touches the table, creating soft patterns that shift almost too slowly to see. The shadows are lighter than before, less defined, blending into the brightness. Outside, the clearing remains calm. The breeze has quieted again. The trees stand still. The distant sounds have softened into near silence. The path remains empty. No one has come. No one has passed. It continues to exist quietly, just as it always has. Inside, the person sets the object down. The movement is gentle. There is no need for care beyond what comes naturally. Everything here holds its place without effort. A moment of stillness follows. Not as a pause between actions, but as its own quiet part of the day. The body rests where it is. The mind remains calm. There is nothing to think ahead to. Nothing to prepare for. Only the steady presence of the present moment. The light continues its slow shift. The warmth remains soft. The silence holds. And the day, uneventful and unhurried, continues to unfold just as it began, quietly, gently, and without interruption. The day has now settled into a quiet middle. The early softness of morning has gently faded, and in its place there is a steady, even light that rests across everything without change. The sun stands higher, though it does not feel harsh. Its warmth is mild, spreading slowly through the air and into the ground. Inside the house, the room feels still and balanced. The fire has nearly gone quiet. Only a faint glow remains beneath the ash, holding onto a last trace of warmth. The air carries that warmth gently, mixing with the softness of the light that enters through the open door. The person stands near the table for a moment longer. There is no urgency to begin anything new. The hands rest lightly against the wood, feeling its smooth, worn surface. The stillness of the room seems to settle deeper, as if it is simply continuing what it has always been. After a while, there is a small movement. The person turns toward the doorway once more. The outside light waits there, calm and steady, unchanged in its quiet presence. Stepping outside feels the same as before. The ground is warmer now, no longer touched by the coolness of the morning. The grass bends gently under each step, dry and soft. The air feels open, carrying a quiet warmth that was not there earlier. The clearing stretches out in stillness. Nothing has changed in any noticeable way. The trees stand where they were. The garden rests quietly beside the house. The fence casts a faint shadow that has shifted only slightly. The sky remains wide and clear. There are no clouds moving through it, no signs of change. Only a steady blue, holding the day in a calm and open space. The person walks slowly toward the edge of the clearing. There is no clear purpose, no task waiting to be completed. Only a quiet movement, guided by habit and ease. Each step is placed without thought, steady and unhurried. A soft sound rises from the distance. It is familiar now, part of the quiet pattern of the day. A gentle movement of life beyond the trees, steady and calm. It does not come closer, and it does not fade completely. It simply remains. The breeze returns once again. It carries a little more warmth now, though it is still gentle. It moves across the land, brushing against the trees, the grass, the wooden walls of the house. It does not linger. It passes through, leaving everything as it was. The person pauses near the edge of the clearing. The land beyond stretches quietly, open and still. There is nothing there that calls for attention. Nothing that changes the steady rhythm of the day. The body remains still for a while. Breathing slow. Unforced. The moment continues without interruption. After some time, the person turns back. The movement is simple, just as before. The steps return across the same ground, following no path in particular, yet finding the way without effort. The house waits in its place. The open doorway remains, unchanged. The shadow it casts has shortened slightly, though it still falls softly across the ground. Stepping inside once more, the air feels gently different. The warmth from earlier has softened. The faint scent of ash lingers near the hearth. The light continues to fill the space, steady and calm. The room remains unchanged. The chair stands where it was left. The table holds its simple arrangement. The tools rest quietly against the wall, untouched since before. The person moves slowly through the space. A small adjustment is made, a cloth straightened, an object shifted slightly. Nothing that alters the room in any clear way. Only small motions that belong to the passing of time. The fire is now almost still. The last of the glow rests beneath the ash, fading slowly. There is no need to stir it. It will settle on its own. The light from outside reaches deeper now. It stretches across the floor, climbing gently along the walls. The patterns it forms are soft and quiet, changing so slowly they are almost the same as before. Outside, the clearing holds its calm. The breeze has quieted again. The trees stand without movement. The distant sounds remain soft, scattered, never rising into anything more. The path beyond the house remains empty. It has not changed. It does not expect to. It simply continues to be there, shaped by time and memory. Inside, the person pauses again. Standing near the center of the room, with no task in hand. There is no sense of waiting. Only a quiet presence, as if time itself has slowed to match the stillness. A slow breath fills the air. Then another. Nothing interrupts. Nothing begins. The day continues, steady and uneventful. After a while, the person moves toward the doorway once more. Not out of necessity, but out of habit. The light outside remains soft, though it has deepened slightly. The warmth in the air is gentle, neither rising nor falling too quickly. Stepping outside again, the ground feels the same. The grass, the soil, the quiet space all unchanged in any way that matters. The garden rests where it was, holding its quiet growth. The person walks only a few steps this time. Then stops. There is nothing to reach. Nothing to gather. Only the open space, and the quiet passage of time. The breeze returns once more, softer now. It moves lightly across the clearing, barely shifting the leaves. The air feels calm, settled into the middle of the day. The sun stands high above. Its light is even, without sharpness. It touches everything equally, leaving no part in shadow for long. The moment stretches. Not forward. Not backward. Only outward, into the stillness that holds it. And so the day continues. Not with change. Not with event. But with the same gentle rhythm that has carried it from the very beginning. Quiet. Steady. Unbroken. The quiet middle of the day lingers. It does not pass quickly, and it does not change in any noticeable way. The sun remains high, resting in the wide sky, holding its steady place without urgency. The light it gives is even and soft, touching the land without sharpness. The person stands just outside the house. There is no movement for a while. The body remains still, balanced between action and rest. The air feels warm, though not heavy. It carries a calm presence, as if it has settled into the day just as everything else has. The garden rests nearby. Its rows remain unchanged, each plant standing in quiet growth. The leaves no longer hold the dew of the morning. They are dry now, warmed by the sun, moving only slightly when the breeze returns. The breeze comes again. It is softer now than before, slower, as if it too has settled into the calm of midday. It brushes across the ground, the fence, the walls of the house, then fades without sound. The person takes a slow step forward. Then another. The movement is not directed toward anything in particular. It follows no clear path, only the gentle habit of walking. The ground beneath feels steady, familiar in its texture and warmth. A distant sound rises once more. It is faint, carried lightly through the air. A low and steady presence, unchanged in its rhythm. It does not approach. It does not fade. It simply continues, part of the quiet world beyond the clearing. The sky remains wide and still. Its color is soft, unbroken. There are no clouds passing through, no shadows moving across the land. The light falls evenly, creating a calm and open space. The person pauses again. There is no reason to stop, but no reason to continue either. The moment holds itself, steady and quiet. Breathing remains slow. Even. Unnoticed. Time continues to pass, though it feels almost as if it has stretched out, becoming softer, less defined. There is no clear sense of minutes or hours. Only the steady presence of the day. After a while, the person turns back toward the house. The movement is gentle, without thought. The steps follow the same ground as before, pressing lightly into the earth, then lifting again. The house stands unchanged. Its wooden walls hold the warmth of the sun now, giving off a faint scent that blends with the air. The doorway remains open, just as it has been, offering a quiet passage between inside and outside. Stepping inside, the difference is subtle. The air feels slightly cooler, though still warm. The light is softer here, filtered through the doorway and the small window. It rests quietly across the room. The fire has now fully settled. The coals no longer glow. The ash lies still, pale and quiet. There is no movement within it, no sign of flame. Only the memory of warmth remains in the air. The room feels calm and complete. Nothing needs to be changed. Nothing calls for attention. The person moves slowly across the floor. The soft creak returns with each step, steady and familiar. It does not break the silence. It belongs to it. The chair near the hearth remains where it was. The person sits once more, lowering slowly, allowing the body to rest. The chair responds with its quiet sound, then becomes still again. The hands rest gently. The eyes move slowly across the room, not searching, only noticing. The table, the walls, the doorway all remain as they have been. Outside, the clearing holds its quiet. The breeze has softened even more now. It comes and goes without leaving much trace. The trees stand nearly still, their leaves barely shifting. The distant sounds continue, faint and steady. They do not change. They do not demand attention. They simply exist. The path remains empty. No footsteps have come. No one has passed. It lies quiet in the light, unchanged in its shape. Inside, the stillness deepens. There is no need to move. No need to act. Only the quiet presence of the moment. The light shifts slightly. It moves across the floor, reaching new places, leaving others behind. The change is slow, almost unnoticeable, yet it continues without pause. The warmth of the day settles evenly. Not rising. Not falling. Simply remaining. The person breathes slowly. Each breath blends into the stillness, becoming part of the quiet rhythm of the room. Time continues to pass. But it does not press forward. It does not carry anything with it. It simply unfolds, one moment after another, unchanged in its calm. After a long while, the person rises again. The movement is slow, steady. The chair remains behind, returning to its quiet place near the hearth. A small step is taken toward the doorway. Then another. The light outside remains steady, though it has softened slightly, hinting at the slow passing of the day. Stepping outside once more, the air feels gently different. The warmth is still there, but it has begun to settle. The edge of the day's turning can be felt, though not seen clearly. The clearing remains calm. The garden stands as it was. The fence casts a softer shadow now. The trees hold their quiet presence. The sky remains wide. Its color has shifted only slightly, deepening in a way that is easy to miss. The person walks a few steps into the open space. then stops. There is no destination. No purpose beyond being there. The breeze returns once more. It moves lightly across the clearing, carrying with it the same soft stillness. The moment stretches. The day continues. And nothing interrupts the quiet, steady flow of time. The day begins to lean, though only slightly. It is not something that can be seen all at once. It is felt in small ways, in the softness of the light, in the quiet change of the air. The sun remains high, but its warmth has started to settle into something gentler, less direct. The person stands in the clearing. There is no movement for a time. The body remains still, balanced in the open space. The ground beneath feels steady, holding the warmth gathered through the day. The air moves lightly, though it carries a calm that feels deeper now. The garden rests as it has all day. Its leaves are still, their edges soft in the afternoon light. The soil holds its shape, unchanged, steady beneath the surface. Nothing in it moves quickly. Nothing asks for attention. The fence casts a longer shadow now. It stretches a little farther across the ground, though the change is slow. The lines it forms remain soft, blending into the light rather than cutting through it. The breeze returns again. It carries a faint shift in temperature, just enough to be noticed. Not cooler, not warmer, but different in a quiet, almost unspoken way. It moves across the clearing, brushing lightly against everything before passing on. From the distance, the familiar sound continues. It has not changed. It remains steady, low, and calm. It neither approaches nor fades completely. It simply continues, as it has since the morning. The sky above holds its wide stillness. Its color has deepened just a little, though it remains soft. There are no sudden changes, no movement to draw the eye. Only the quiet presence of the open space. The person takes a slow step. Then another. The movement is gentle, without direction. It follows the same quiet pattern as before, guided by nothing more than the ease of the moment. The path lies nearby. It remains empty, unchanged, holding the marks of earlier days without adding anything new. The earth is warm beneath its surface, firm and steady. The person walks along it for a short distance. Not far, just enough to feel the ground shift slightly beneath each step. The movement is smooth, unbroken, without purpose beyond itself. After a while, the steps slow. Then stop. The stillness returns, as it always does. Time passes in this way, without being counted. Without being noticed directly. It simply moves, soft and steady. The person turns back toward the house. The shape of it remains calm against the light. The wooden walls hold the warmth of the day, giving off a faint scent that blends with the air. The doorway is still open, unchanged, inviting without calling. Stepping closer, the sounds of the clearing soften slightly. The ground feels the same beneath each step. The grass bends gently, then rises again. Nothing holds onto the movement for long. The person steps inside. The air within feels quiet and settled. The warmth of the earlier fire has faded, leaving only a soft trace. The light from outside enters in a gentle way, spreading across the floor and walls. The room remains as it has been. The chair stands near the hearth. The table rests against the wall. The tools remain untouched. Nothing has shifted in any meaningful way. The person moves slowly across the space. A small adjustment is made, almost without thought. A cloth is smoothed, an object is set slightly straighter. These movements are quiet, barely noticeable, yet they fit into the rhythm of the day. The floor gives its soft creak beneath each step. The sound is familiar, unchanged. It rises gently, then fades into the stillness. The person pauses near the window. The light that enters through it is softer now, less direct than before. It rests on the wall in a pale, even way, creating no strong shadows, only a gentle brightness. Outside, the clearing continues its calm. The breeze has slowed again. The trees stand nearly still. The distant sound remains, steady and low, part of the quiet world beyond. The path remains empty. No one has come. No one has passed. It continues to exist, unchanged. Inside, the person stands in stillness. There is no need to sit, no need to move. Only the quiet presence of the moment. A slow breath fills the space. Then another. The light shifts slightly. The warmth of the day settles further. Nothing interrupts. Nothing begins. After some time, the person moves again. The steps are slow, measured. The chair is reached, and once more, the body lowers into it. The wood responds with its soft, familiar sound, then becomes still. The hands rest gently. The eyes move slowly, not searching, only noticing. The shapes of the room remain calm and steady. Outside, the day continues to lean. The light softens more. The shadows lengthen slightly. The air holds a quiet change that grows slowly, without drawing attention. The breeze returns once more. It carries a faint coolness now, though it is still gentle. It moves through the doorway, brushing lightly against the room before passing on. The moment stretches. The day continues. Not with change that can be seen clearly, but with the slow, steady passing of time. Uneventful. Unbroken. Quiet as it has always been. The afternoon begins to soften. It does not arrive suddenly, and it does not change the day in any clear way. It simply settles in, slowly and gently, like a quiet layer placed over what was already there. The light grows a little warmer, a little deeper, though it remains calm and even. Inside the house, the stillness holds. The chair near the hearth supports the quiet rest of the body. The wood beneath gives no sound now. It has settled, just as everything else has. The air feels balanced, neither warm nor cool, only steady. The person remains seated for a while. There is no need to rise. No reason to begin anything new. The hands rest softly, sometimes shifting slightly, then becoming still again. The breath continues in its slow rhythm, unnoticed and unforced. The light from the doorway stretches farther across the floor. It moves in a way that is almost too slow to follow. The edges of it soften as it reaches into the room, touching the legs of the table, the lower part of the wall, then resting there. Outside, the clearing remains unchanged. The trees stand where they have always stood. Their leaves move only slightly now, stirred now and then by a breeze that has grown quieter. The ground holds the warmth of the day, steady and calm. The garden rests in the same quiet way. Its leaves no longer carry any trace of morning. They sit gently in the light, still and settled. Growth continues, though it cannot be seen. It happens slowly, beneath the surface, without sound. The fence casts a longer shadow now. It stretches across the ground in soft lines, shifting little by little as the sun moves. The change is steady, but it does not draw attention. It simply continues. From far away, the faint sound remains. It has been there all day, never changing, never rising or falling in any strong way. It stays at the edge of hearing, part of the quiet world beyond the clearing. Inside, the person slowly opens their eyes a little more. There is no sudden movement. Only a gentle return to awareness of the room, of the light, of the quiet presence of everything around. After some time, the body leans forward slightly. The hands press lightly against the sides of the chair, and with a slow, steady motion, the person stands once more. The chair gives a soft sound, then becomes still again. The movement across the room is unhurried. Each step is placed gently, the floor responding with its familiar creak. The sound rises and fades, blending into the quiet. The doorway remains open. The light outside has softened further, though it still fills the clearing evenly. The air that enters carries a faint coolness now, barely noticeable, but present. Stepping outside, the change can be felt more clearly. The warmth of midday has eased. The air feels lighter, calmer, as if it too is beginning to rest. The person walks slowly into the clearing. There is no direction, no task waiting. Only the quiet movement through the open space, guided by nothing more than the gentle passing of time. The grass bends underfoot. It rises again just as softly. Nothing is left behind but the faintest trace of movement, one that will soon disappear. The sky above holds its steady color. It has deepened slightly, though the change is soft. The light remains warm, spreading gently across the land. The person pauses. Standing still, with no need to move further. The clearing stretches quietly around, unchanged, steady in its calm. The breeze returns again. It is softer now, carrying a slight coolness that was not there before. It moves across the trees, through the grass, along the side of the house, then fades into stillness. The moment lingers. Time continues to pass, though it feels slower now. The edges of the day begin to soften, though they are still far away. After a while, the person turns back toward the house. The movement is gentle, familiar. The steps return across the same ground, steady and unhurried. The house remains as it has always been. Its wooden surface holds the warmth of the day, though it has begun to cool slightly. The doorway still stands open, unchanged. Stepping inside, the air feels calm and quiet. The light enters softly now, less direct than before. It rests gently across the floor and walls, creating a sense of stillness that fills the room. The person moves slowly toward the table. A hand rests lightly against it, feeling its smooth surface. There is no need to move anything, no task to complete. Only the quiet presence of the moment. The room remains unchanged. The chair stands where it was left. The hearth holds only ash now, pale and still. The tools remain untouched. The light continues its slow shift. It moves across the wall, softening as it goes. The shadows it creates are faint, blending into the brightness. Outside, the clearing grows quieter still. The breeze has nearly faded. The trees stand without movement. The distant sound remains, steady and calm, unchanged from before. The path lies empty. No one has come. No one has passed. It rests in the softening light, unchanged in its quiet presence. Inside, the person pauses once more. Standing in the center of the room, with no movement, no thought of what comes next. Only the steady rhythm of breathing, and the quiet unfolding of the day. A slow breath fills the space. Then another. Nothing interrupts. Nothing begins. The afternoon continues to soften. The light grows gentler. The air grows calmer. And the day moves quietly forward, just as it always has, steady, uneventful, and without end. The afternoon drifts further along, almost without notice. The light has softened more now. It rests across the clearing in a warm and gentle way, no longer bright as it was before. The edges of everything feel quieter, less defined, as if the day itself is beginning to relax. The person remains inside for a moment. Standing near the table, not moving, not thinking of anything in particular. The room holds a calm stillness, one that has deepened slowly over time. The air feels balanced, carrying a faint coolness beneath the warmth that still lingers. The light through the doorway has changed. It no longer reaches as far into the room as it did before. It settles closer to the entrance now, forming a soft shape across the floor. The rest of the space rests in a dimmer, gentler tone. After a while, the person begins to move again. The steps are slow, as they have always been. The floor responds with its quiet creak, a familiar sound that rises gently, then fades into the stillness. The doorway waits, open and unchanged. Stepping outside, the shift in the day can be felt more clearly. The air is cooler now, though only slightly. The warmth of the sun remains, but it has softened, becoming less direct. It rests on the skin in a gentle, steady way. The clearing feels wider in this light. Not because it has changed, but because the brightness no longer fills every space. Shadows stretch a little farther now, soft and long, blending into the ground. The trees stand quietly. Their leaves move only when the breeze returns, which it does now and then, lightly and without urgency. Each movement is brief, fading as quickly as it begins. The garden rests where it has always been. Its leaves hold the soft light, their surfaces calm and still. Nothing in it asks for attention. Nothing needs to be done. The fence casts a longer shadow now. It reaches farther across the ground, its lines stretching and softening as the light lowers. The change is slow, steady, and easy to miss. The person walks a few steps into the clearing. There is no direction, no purpose beyond the movement itself. The ground beneath feels familiar, unchanged, holding the quiet warmth of the day. A faint sound drifts from the distance. It remains steady, as it has all day. It neither grows nor fades. It simply continues, part of the quiet rhythm that has carried through each moment. The sky above has begun to shift. Its color is deeper now, though still soft. The light it holds feels warmer, as if it is slowly preparing to rest. The person pauses again. Standing still, with no need to move further. The air feels calm, the moment steady, as if time itself has slowed even more. Breathing remains quiet. Even. Unnoticed. The breeze returns once more. It carries a slight coolness now, more noticeable than before. It moves across the clearing, touching the grass, the trees, the wooden walls of the house, then fades gently away. After a while, the person turns back. The movement is slow, unhurried. The steps return across the same ground, leaving no lasting mark. The house stands quietly. Its wooden surface now holds less warmth than before. The light resting on it is softer, less direct. The doorway remains open, unchanged, welcoming without calling. Stepping inside, the difference is gentle but clear. The room is dimmer now. The light no longer fills it as fully. It rests near the doorway and the window, leaving the corners in a soft shadow. The air feels cooler. Not cold, only settled. The hearth remains still. The ash lies quiet, pale, and unmoving. There is no glow left beneath it now. The fire has completed its slow fading. The person moves across the room. The floor gives its soft sound with each step, then returns to silence. The chair waits near the hearth, unchanged. The person sits once more. The movement is slow, steady. The chair responds gently, then becomes still again. The hands rest quietly. The eyes move slowly, taking in the room without focus. The shapes remain calm, unchanged, steady in their presence. Outside, the clearing grows quieter still. The breeze comes less often now. The trees stand nearly motionless. The distant sound remains, though it feels softer, as if it too is settling with the day. The path remains empty. No one has come. No one has passed. It rests in the lengthening light, unchanged in its quiet existence. Inside, the stillness deepens further. There is no need to move. No need to act. Only the quiet presence of the moment. The light continues to shift. It grows softer, lower, fading slowly from the room. The shadows deepen, though they remain gentle. Time continues. Unbroken. Unhurried. The person breathes slowly. Each breath blends into the quiet, becoming part of the steady rhythm that has carried through the day. The afternoon continues to drift. The edges of evening begin to form, though they are still far away. Nothing interrupts. Nothing changes in any strong way. The day remains as it has always been, calm, steady, and quietly passing from one moment to the next. The day leans a little more now, though it still holds onto its calm. The light outside has begun to soften into something quieter, something closer to evening than afternoon, though the shift is slow enough that it almost feels imagined. Nothing changes sharply. Everything moves in gentle degrees. Inside the house, the stillness deepens. The chair near the hearth holds the quiet weight of rest. The person remains seated, and for a time, there is no movement at all. The room feels settled, as if it has finally come to rest after a long, slow breath. The light in the room is lower now. It no longer fills the space evenly. Instead, it gathers near the doorway and window, leaving the corners in a softer shade. The wooden walls look darker in places, their texture more visible in the fading light. Outside, the clearing has changed in only the smallest ways. The shadows have grown longer, stretching across the ground like quiet lines that shift with time. The grass remains still, its earlier brightness now softened. The trees stand in calm silhouette against the sky. The breeze comes and goes. When it appears, it is cooler than before, but still gentle. It passes through the clearing without resistance, touching everything lightly, then fading again into stillness. The distant sound remains. It is the same as it has been all day. Steady. Unchanging. A quiet presence at the edge of hearing, never arriving closer, never moving away completely. The person shifts slightly in the chair. A small movement, unhurried. The hands adjust their position, then rest again. The body remains at ease, held in the familiar comfort of stillness. Time continues to pass. Not in clear steps. Not in visible changes. But in the soft deepening of light, in the slow cooling of air, in the gradual quiet that settles over everything. After a while, the person rises. The movement is slow and steady, as always. The chair gives a faint sound as it is left behind, then becomes still again. The person stands for a moment near the hearth. The ash remains untouched, pale and quiet. There is no fire now, only the memory of warmth that once filled the room earlier in the day. The steps toward the doorway are unhurried. Each one falls gently on the wooden floor, the sound rising and fading as it has all day. The doorway stands open. The light beyond it is softer now, leaning toward evening. The sky outside has deepened slightly, though it remains calm and wide. Stepping outside, the change is more noticeable. The air feels cooler. Not cold, but gently cooled by the slow passing of time. The warmth of the earlier hours has faded into something quieter. The clearing holds a deeper stillness. The shadows stretch farther now, covering more of the ground. The shapes of the trees are more defined in silhouette, yet softer in feeling. The garden rests in dimmer light. Its leaves are darker now, though still visible. They no longer catch the brightness of the day in the same way. Instead, they sit quietly in the fading glow. The fence stands steady. Its shadow reaches long across the ground, blending into the dimming earth. The person walks a few steps into the open space. Then stops. There is no destination. No task. Only the presence of the moment as it slowly shifts toward evening. The sky above is changing now. Not quickly. Not dramatically. But steadily. The light grows deeper, softer, more muted in its tone. The breeze returns once more. It is cooler again, carrying the first real feeling of evening. It moves across the clearing, through the trees, along the edges of the house, then fades away. The moment lingers. Long. Quiet. Unbroken. The person turns back toward the house. The movement is calm and familiar. The ground beneath feels the same as it always has, though now it carries the coolness of the fading day. The house stands quietly in the dimming light. Its wooden surface holds less warmth now, resting in the soft transition toward evening. The doorway remains open, as it has all day. Stepping inside, the room feels dimmer still. The light has retreated further, leaving the space in a gentle shadow. The outlines of objects remain visible, but softer, less defined. The air inside is calm. Cooler than before, but still comfortable. It carries the faint memory of the day's warmth, now slowly fading. The person moves slowly through the room. The floor responds with its familiar creak. The sound is softer now in the dim light, blending more easily into the silence. The chair near the hearth remains where it was. The person returns to it once more, sitting gently. The movement is steady, unhurried. The chair accepts the weight and becomes still again. The hands rest quietly. The eyes move slowly through the dim room. Nothing has changed in any noticeable way. Everything remains as it was, only softer now in the fading light. Outside, the clearing grows quieter. The breeze has slowed again. The trees stand still. The distant sound is faint, almost blending completely into the evening air. The path remains empty. No footsteps. No movement. Only the quiet presence of earth and time. Inside, the stillness deepens once more. The day is no longer bright. But it is not yet night. It rests in the in-between, where everything slows and softens, where sound becomes rare, and light becomes gentle. The person breathes slowly. Each breath is calm, steady, part of the quiet rhythm that has carried through the entire day. The light fades further. The room grows dimmer. And everything settles into a deeper quiet, as the uneventful day continues its slow, peaceful descent toward evening. Evening arrives without announcing itself. There is no clear moment when the day becomes something else. It simply shifts, little by little, until the light that once filled the clearing begins to soften into dusk. The change is patient, almost unnoticeable unless one remains very still. Inside the house, the dimness grows deeper. The shapes of the room are still familiar, but they are less defined now. The table is a darker outline. The chair near the hearth blends more gently into the shadows. The walls seem to hold the fading light rather than reflect it. The person remains seated for a time. There is no movement, only the quiet presence of being still as the day continues its slow retreat. The air inside has cooled slightly, settling into a calm that feels steady and even. Outside, the sky has changed again. It is no longer the bright blue of earlier hours. It has become softer, with tones that lean toward muted gold and pale gray. The colors do not stand sharply apart. They blend gently into one another. The clearing rests beneath this fading light. The trees are darker now, their forms more like silhouettes than details. The grass is still visible, but its color is subdued, softened by the evening's arrival. The breeze returns once more. It is cooler now, carrying the first true feeling of night approaching. It moves lightly through the clearing, passing over the ground, through the branches, along the side of the house, then fading into stillness. Inside, the person slowly shifts in the chair. A quiet movement. Unhurried. The wood beneath gives a soft sound, then becomes still again. The hearth remains quiet. No glow is left within it now. Only ash rests where the fire once was, pale and still, holding no warmth except memory. The room feels smaller in the dim light. Not physically, but in feeling. The shadows gather gently in the corners, and the space becomes more intimate, more enclosed in its quietness. The person rises slowly. The movement is steady, familiar. There is no hesitation, no urgency. The chair remains behind, unchanged, returning to its place in the growing dimness. A few steps carry the person toward the doorway. Each step is soft on the wooden floor, the sound barely rising before it fades again. The doorway is open still. Beyond it, the evening has deepened further. The sky now holds softer tones, darker at the edges, yet still calm and wide. Stepping outside, the change is clear but gentle. The air is cooler now. Not cold, but touched by the quiet arrival of night. The warmth of the day has fully softened into memory. The clearing is quieter than before. The trees stand almost motionless. The garden is darker now, its shapes blending into the surrounding dimness. The fence is still visible, though its details are less distinct. The shadows are long and soft. They stretch across the ground, no longer shifting quickly, but settling into place with the evening light. The person stands still for a moment. There is no movement, only the quiet presence of the fading day. The sky continues to dim slowly, colors blending into deeper tones. From the distance, the familiar sound is still there. But it is softer now. More distant than before. As if it too is settling into the evening. The breeze passes once more. It is gentle and cool, moving lightly across the clearing, then disappearing into the trees. After a while, the person turns back toward the house. The movement is slow and natural. The ground beneath feels slightly cooler now, carrying the last traces of the day's warmth. The house stands quietly in the dim light. Its shape is still clear, but softened by the evening shadows. The open doorway appears darker than before, a quiet opening into the still interior. Stepping inside, the room feels more enclosed in shadow. The fading light now barely reaches across the floor. Most of the space is held in gentle darkness, with only faint outlines visible. The air is calm. Cooler than before, but still comfortable. It carries the quiet stillness of the evening, settling into every corner. The person moves slowly through the room. Each step is careful but unhurried. The familiar sound of wood beneath returns briefly, then fades. There is no fire now. No glow. Only the memory of warmth that once filled the space earlier in the day. The chair remains where it has always been. The person returns to it once more, sitting slowly. The movement is steady, almost practiced in its familiarity. The room is quieter now than at any other point in the day. Outside, the clearing has nearly disappeared into evening. The trees are dark silhouettes. The garden is barely visible. The path is almost completely lost in shadow. The sky continues to fade. Not into darkness all at once, but in layers. Soft. Patient. Unhurried. Inside, the person sits in stillness. There is no need to move. No need to speak. Only the quiet presence of the evening settling in around everything. The breath is slow. Even. Steady. Time continues, but it feels softer now, as if it has begun to rest along with everything else. The light fades further. The room becomes quieter in its dimness. And the day, now fully leaning into night, continues its gentle, uneventful passing without urgency, without change, and without end. Night does not arrive in a single moment. It comes slowly, the way everything else has come throughout the day, with no sudden edge or clear beginning. The remaining light outside fades into deeper tones, and what was once a visible landscape becomes something softer, more imagined than seen. Inside the house, the darkness settles gently. It is not complete darkness, not yet. There is still a faint suggestion of shapes, the outline of the table, the steady presence of the chair, the quiet form of the walls. But everything is softened now, as if the room itself is resting. The person remains seated. Still. Calm. There is no movement beyond the slow rhythm of breathing, which blends easily into the quiet of the room. The body rests in the chair as though it has always belonged there, as though this stillness has been waiting for it. Outside, the sky has deepened further. What was once color has now become tone. Deep gray, soft blue, and quiet shadow blend together above the clearing. The trees are no longer distinct in detail, only in shape. The wind moves lightly. Not strongly. Not often. Just enough to remind the world outside that it is still there, still gently shifting. It passes through the trees, across the grass, along the side of the house, and then fades. Inside, the air is still. It carries the coolness of evening now, settled and even. The warmth of the day is gone, but nothing feels cold. Everything is balanced in a quiet neutrality. The person shifts slightly in the chair. A small movement. Almost nothing. The wood responds with a faint sound, then returns to silence. Time continues to pass. But it no longer feels measured. It feels like drifting. The room grows darker still. The last traces of light from outside have nearly disappeared. Only a faint suggestion remains near the doorway and window, where the world beyond still exists in soft outline. There is no fire. No lamp. Only the natural darkness of night forming slowly, layer by layer. The person does not move. There is no need for action. No task waiting. No direction calling. Only stillness. The house seems quieter now than at any point before. Not because sound has changed, but because everything within it has softened into deeper rest. Outside, the clearing has become a quiet shape against the night. The trees are now part of the darkness. The garden is no longer visible in detail. The path has disappeared completely into shadow. The sky holds no light now, only depth. and yet it is not heavy. It is calm. The breeze returns once more. Even softer than before. It moves like a whisper through the land, barely touching anything, then fading as if it had never been there. Inside, the person breathes slowly. Each breath steady. Each moment unbroken. The chair remains unchanged beneath them, supporting the stillness as it has all day. There is no sense of waiting. No anticipation. Only presence. After a long time, the person leans slightly forward. The movement is quiet, deliberate in its simplicity. The hands rest on the arms of the chair, and then the body rises. Slowly. Without resistance. The chair gives a faint sound as weight leaves it, then becomes still again. Standing now in the darkness of the room, the person pauses. The house feels different at night, though nothing has changed in structure. It is only perception that shifts, the way space feels larger and closer at the same time, the way silence seems deeper. A few steps are taken. Soft on the wooden floor. Familiar. The doorway is nearby, though it is now only a darker shape within the darkness. Stepping closer, the outside world appears as a faint suggestion beyond it. The clearing is no longer visible clearly, only sensed through absence of light. The air at the threshold feels slightly cooler, carrying the full arrival of night. The person stands there for a moment. Still. Breathing. Then steps outside. The night surrounds everything gently. There are no strong edges, only soft gradients of darkness. The land, the trees, the sky all blend into a quiet unity. The breeze is faint. The world is silent in its own way. And everything rests. The person stands in the clearing without movement. There is no need to go anywhere. No need to return quickly. Only the quiet presence of night settling fully over the day that has passed. After a long stillness, the person turns back toward the house. The movement is slow, guided by familiarity rather than thought. Inside again, the darkness is complete now. The room is no longer defined by objects, but by memory of them. The chair, the table, the walls all remain, but only in feeling rather than sight. The person returns to the chair. Sits. Stillness resumes. Deeper now. Final in its quietness for this moment. Outside, the night continues without sound, without change, without interruption. And inside the small wooden house, the uneventful day finally rests fully into night, soft, steady, and completely calm. Night has fully taken the world now. It does not feel like something that arrived suddenly. It feels more like something that slowly filled every empty space, until nothing remained except quiet and shadow. The house sits within it gently, as if it has always belonged to the night as much as it belonged to the day. Inside, the darkness is complete, but not heavy. It is soft. Even. Familiar. The person remains seated in the chair, holding stillness as naturally as breathing. There is no need to see anything clearly. The room is known by memory now, by feeling, by presence. The wood beneath the chair is steady. The air is cool but calm. Nothing moves except time itself, and even that feels slower now, as if it too has softened into rest. Outside, the clearing is no longer visible. It exists only as a quiet presence beyond the walls, a space that can be sensed but not seen. The trees, the garden, the path all have blended into the night, becoming part of its deeper stillness. The breeze comes once in a while. Very faint. It passes through the land without direction, without urgency, then disappears again into silence. Inside the house, the person shifts slightly. A small movement of comfort more than necessity. The chair responds with a quiet sound, then settles again into stillness. The room remains unchanged. The table stands where it has always stood. The hearth is silent, holding only ash. The walls hold the memory of the day's light, though none of it remains now. Time continues. But it no longer feels divided into parts. There is no morning. No afternoon. Only night. And the quiet continuation of being. The person breathes slowly. Each breath steady, unhurried, blending into the stillness of the space. There is nothing to think about. Nothing to anticipate. Nothing to complete. Just the simple act of being present. After a long while, there is a gentle shift. The person leans forward. Slowly. The chair gives its soft familiar sound as weight changes, then falls silent again. The movement is careful, natural, almost practiced without intention. A few steps carry the person across the room. The floor does not creak loudly. It barely speaks at all now, as if even the house has become quieter with the night. The doorway is near. Not visible clearly, but known. The air grows slightly cooler there, where the outside world waits just beyond the threshold. The person stands at the doorway. Still. Listening to nothing. Seeing nothing. Only feeling the presence of night outside, vast and calm. After a long pause, the person steps out. The night is complete now. There is no horizon to see, only depth. The land, the trees, the sky all are part of the same quiet darkness. But it does not feel empty. It feels full in its own way. Full of stillness. Full of rest. The person stands in the clearing for a moment. No movement. No sound. Only the faint sense of air moving gently across the space, passing through everything and leaving nothing disturbed. Then, slowly, the person turns back toward the house. Each step is familiar. Each movement unhurried. The doorway appears again as a darker shape within the darkness. Inside, the room remains as it has been. Silent. Soft. Still. The person returns to the chair. Sits. The motion is gentle, final in its repetition. The chair receives the weight and becomes still again. And so the night continues. Outside, nothing changes. The world remains in its deep quiet, holding the land, the trees, the sky in a single uninterrupted calm. Inside, there is only stillness. No fire. No light. No movement beyond breath. Time does not feel like it is passing now. It feels like it has settled. Like it has rested, just as everything else has. The uneventful day has fully become night. And the night continues without urgency, without sound, without interruption, soft, steady, and endless in its calm. The night settles even deeper now, though it does so without any clear moment of change. It is not something that arrives. It is something that simply continues, growing softer as it goes, until even the idea of change feels distant. The house rests within it quietly, as if it has always been part of this darkness. Inside, there is only stillness. The person remains in the chair, unmoving for long stretches of time. The body is at ease, held gently by the familiar shape of wood and quiet air. Nothing presses forward. Nothing asks to begin. The room is fully dark now. Not empty. Just dark. And within that darkness, everything still exists, only in softer form. The table is still there. The walls are still there. The hearth remains in its place. but they are held in the mind more than the eyes. Time feels less certain now. It does not mark itself in ways that can be easily noticed. It becomes something more like a slow current beneath everything, carrying the night forward without sound. The person breathes. Slowly. Evenly. Each breath blending into the quiet, becoming part of the space rather than something separate from it. Outside, the world remains unchanged. The clearing is still there, though it cannot be seen. The trees stand where they always stood. The garden rests in its rows. The path continues to lie empty. Everything is present. Everything is still. The breeze comes once, very faint. It moves across the land without direction, without purpose, and then fades again into nothing. It leaves no trace. Inside, the person shifts slightly. A small adjustment. A natural settling. The chair responds with a soft sound, then returns to silence. There is no thought attached to the movement. Only comfort. Only rest. The night continues. Not moving forward in any noticeable way. Just deepening in layers so subtle they cannot be counted. At some point, the person leans back slightly. The motion is slow, unforced, like something done without decision. The head rests comfortably. The body remains supported by the chair. Stillness returns immediately. Outside, there is nothing to see. No light. No motion. Only the presence of a world resting beneath the night sky. The sky itself is not visible, but it is felt in its vastness. A quiet weightless expanse above everything, holding the land in a calm embrace. Inside, the house remains warm enough. Not from fire, but from memory of the day, from the slow gathering of warmth that never fully leaves. It lingers in the walls, in the wood, in the air. The person remains still. Time passes. Or perhaps it does not pass at all anymore. Perhaps it only exists, quietly unfolding without direction. After a long while, there is a subtle shift. Not a beginning. Not an end. Just a continuation. The person stands once more. Slowly. Quietly. The chair releases its presence with a faint sound, then becomes still again. A few steps are taken through the darkness of the room. Familiar steps. Known without seeing. The doorway is there. Not visible, but understood. The air beyond it feels slightly cooler again, as if the night outside has deepened just a little more. The person pauses at the threshold. Still. Listening to nothing. Feeling everything in a quiet, even way. Then steps outside. The night remains complete. The clearing is no different than before, only deeper in its silence. Everything holds its place. Everything remains. The person stands for a long moment. No movement. No sound. Only the presence of night surrounding everything gently, without pressure, without change. Then, slowly, the person turns back toward the house. The return is calm. Unbroken. The doorway is crossed again, and the room receives the presence of the body as it has before. The chair is reached. The person sits. And stillness returns once more. The house rests. The land rests. The night continues. Soft. Endless in feeling. Uneventful in every way that can be known. And within it, everything simply is quiet, steady, and completely at peace. The night does not deepen quickly anymore. It has already reached that quiet point where change becomes almost impossible to notice. Everything has settled into a long, even stillness, as if the world has chosen to remain exactly as it is for a while. Inside the house, there is no light at all now. Only presence. Only space. The person remains seated in the chair, fully at ease, fully still. The body is no longer waiting for anything. It is simply resting within the quiet shape of the night. The room feels the same as before, yet softer somehow. Not because it has changed, but because perception has quieted. The edges of things are no longer needed. Everything is understood without seeing. Outside, the clearing is completely hidden now. The trees, the garden, the path, the fence, all of it exists, but only as memory of space beyond the walls. The night has folded it in gently, leaving no detail visible. The breeze appears once. Barely there. It passes over the land, then over the house itself, then disappears again without sound. Inside, the air remains calm. Slightly cool. Comfortable in its stillness. The person breathes slowly, each breath steady and unbroken. There is no awareness of time passing. Only the quiet rhythm of being. After a long pause, there is a small movement. The person adjusts slightly in the chair, a natural settling deeper into rest. The wood beneath responds with a faint sound, then becomes still again. Nothing follows. No thought of what comes next. No expectation of change. The night continues in its soft, even way. It does not move forward. It simply remains. At some point, the person rises again. Not because anything calls for it. Not because anything changes. But as part of the quiet rhythm that has existed throughout the day and into the night. The movement is slow. Familiar. The chair gives its soft sound, then returns to stillness. Steps carry the person through the room. The darkness is complete, yet not disorienting. Everything is known through memory, through presence, through the quiet understanding of space. The doorway is there again. A gentle threshold between inside and outside, though the difference between them feels smaller now than at any other time. The person pauses. Still. Breathing. Then steps outside. The night remains unchanged. If anything, it feels even quieter than before. The land holds its shape without movement. The sky above is an unseen depth, vast and calm. Everything is still. The person stands in the clearing. No direction. No purpose. Only presence within the night. After a long moment, there is a slow return. The house receives the person again without change, without reaction, as if nothing has moved at all. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns completely. And the night continues. Soft. Endless. Uneventful in every possible way. Time no longer feels like something moving forward. It feels like something resting, spread evenly across everything, touching all things without distinction. The house remains quiet. The land remains quiet. The world remains quiet. And within that quiet, there is nothing to disturb, nothing to change, nothing to begin. Only the steady, peaceful continuation of night. The night has become the kind that feels almost unmoving. Not because time has stopped, but because everything within it has agreed to be still. The air, the land, the house, even thought itself seems to settle into a quieter rhythm, one that does not ask for attention. Inside the house, darkness is complete. It is not empty darkness, but full darkness filled with the quiet presence of familiar space. The chair, the table, the hearth, the walls all remain, though none of them need to be seen. The person sits without shifting now. very still. Resting in a way that feels natural, as if stillness has become the only remaining task of the night. The air is calm. Cool, but not cold. It moves only slightly when it moves at all, as if even air has slowed to match the quietness of everything else. Outside, there is nothing visible. The clearing is no longer something the eyes could describe. It exists only as a gentle awareness beyond the walls, a remembered openness, now held in darkness. The trees are there. The path is there. The garden is there. But all of it rests in the same quiet obscurity, unchanged and unchanging. A faint breeze passes once. Soft enough to almost not exist. It travels across the land and disappears without leaving any sense of direction behind. Inside, the person remains still. Breathing continues. Slow. Steady. Unbroken. Time feels distant now. Not absent, but softened, as if it has lost its edges and become part of the background of everything. After a long stretch of silence, there is a gentle movement. The person shifts in the chair, a small adjustment deeper into comfort. The wood beneath gives a faint sound, then settles again. Nothing else follows. The night does not react. It continues as it has been. At some point, the person rises once more. The movement is slow, almost blending with stillness itself. There is no interruption to the quiet. Only a change in position. The chair remains behind. Unchanged. Waiting as it always does. The person walks through the darkness of the room. Each step is familiar, guided not by sight, but by memory of place. The room is known so well that even darkness cannot make it unfamiliar. The doorway is reached. The air there feels slightly different again, just a faint suggestion of cooler night air waiting beyond. The person pauses. Still. Then steps outside. The night holds everything gently. There is no difference now between sky and land in feeling, only layers of quiet presence, one resting upon another in calm continuity. The clearing remains unseen, but fully present. Nothing has changed. Nothing needs to change. The person stands for a long moment in the open space. No movement. No direction. Only the simple existence of being within the night. Then, slowly, the person turns back. The return is as quiet as the departure. The house receives the presence again without sound or shift. The chair is reached. The person sits. And stillness returns completely. Deeper now. Not because anything has changed, but because nothing needs to. The night continues without interruption. Soft. Even. Endless in its calm. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one uninterrupted stillness, as if the entire world has agreed to simply rest. The night has reached a place where it feels almost weightless. Not in a bright or distant way, but in a quiet, grounded stillness, as if everything has gently settled into its final resting shape. Nothing in the world feels new anymore. Nothing feels unfinished. It all simply is. Inside the house, darkness holds steady. It is complete now, without variation. The room cannot be seen, but it is fully known. Every object remains in its place through memory and familiarity: the chair, the table, the hearth, the walls that have stood through the entire day and into the night. The person remains seated. Still. There is no movement beyond breath, and even that feels like part of the silence rather than something separate from it. Each inhale and exhale blends into the surrounding stillness, becoming indistinguishable from it. Outside, the clearing is fully absorbed into night. No shapes remain visible. No outlines. Only the sense of open space, wide and calm, extending beyond the house in all directions. The breeze does not appear for a time. It is as if even the air has decided to rest. Inside, the warmth of the day is long gone, but there is no discomfort. The house holds a gentle steadiness, a quiet balance between the outside coolness and the lingering memory of warmth within its walls. Time feels distant now. Not gone. Just no longer measured in any meaningful way. After a long stretch of stillness, there is a soft movement. The person shifts slightly in the chair. Barely noticeable. The wood responds with a faint sound, then returns to silence. Nothing follows. No continuation of action. Only stillness again. The night remains unchanged. Patient. Even. Endless in its calm presence. At some point, the person rises. Slowly. The movement blends so gently into the darkness that it feels almost like part of the night itself rather than something happening within it. The chair remains behind. Unchanged. Waiting in its quiet place. The person walks through the room without hesitation. Every step is guided by memory. The space is known so well that darkness does not create uncertainty. The doorway is there. Not seen, but understood. A faint difference in air marks its presence. The person pauses. Still. Breathing. Then steps outside. The night is as it was. No shift. No change. Only the same deep, calm presence that has held the world for hours now. The clearing is silent beyond perception. Not empty. Just completely still. The person stands in the open space for a long moment. No movement. No direction. Only awareness of being within the night. Then, slowly, the turn back begins. The house receives the return without sound. Without reaction. As if nothing has changed at all. Inside again, the darkness is absolute. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns. And this time, it feels even deeper, not because anything has become more intense, but because everything has simply continued without interruption for so long that even the idea of change feels distant. The night remains. Soft. Unbroken. Without beginning or end. And within it, the house and the quiet presence inside rest together in the same calm continuity, as if the entire world has finally settled into one long, peaceful breath. The night continues in a way that feels almost unmarked by time. Not because time has ended, but because it has become so even, so steady, that it no longer draws attention to itself. It is simply there, surrounding everything, holding everything, without interruption. Inside the house, darkness remains complete. It is not the kind of darkness that feels empty. It is full in its own quiet way, shaped by familiarity. The room still exists in detail: chair, table, hearth, walls, but none of it needs to be seen to be known. The person remains seated. Still. The body is at rest in a way that feels natural, as if there is nowhere else it could be. The chair supports that stillness without effort, as it has through the entire day and into the night. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath dissolves into the silence around it, leaving no trace of separation between body and space. Outside, the world is completely quiet now. The clearing is not just unseen, it feels fully absorbed into the night itself. Trees, path, garden, fence, all of it exists as part of a single, continuous stillness beyond the walls. There is no breeze now. No movement in the air. Only calm. Inside, the house feels settled in its final quiet state of the day. Not heavy. Not light. Just still. Time does not feel like it is moving forward anymore. It feels like it has softened into place, resting evenly across everything without direction. After a long pause, there is a slight shift. The person adjusts in the chair. A small movement, almost imperceptible. The wood beneath responds with a faint sound, then becomes silent again. Nothing follows that movement. It does not lead anywhere. It simply exists, then fades back into stillness. The night continues. Unchanged. Uninterrupted. At some point, the person rises again. The motion is slow and natural, blending into the surrounding quiet as if it has always been part of it. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it was, unchanged by the absence of weight. The person walks through the room. No sound rises beyond a faint touch of movement against wood. The space is so familiar that even darkness cannot make it uncertain. The doorway is reached. It is not seen clearly, but known completely. There is a pause. Stillness. Then the person steps outside. The night remains fully present. It does not deepen, because there is no deeper state left to reach. It simply is what it has become: steady, even, unbroken. The clearing is beyond sight, but not beyond awareness. It is there, resting in the same calm as everything else. No wind moves. No sound shifts. Only the presence of open space, quiet and complete. The person stands for a long time. There is no sense of waiting. No sense of expectation. Only the simple fact of being within the night. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the movement without change. Inside, darkness remains as before. The chair is reached. The person sits. And stillness returns again, not as something new, but as something continuous, something that has never truly left. The night flows on. Soft. Endless. Uneventful in every possible way. And within it, the house and the quiet presence inside remain together in perfect calm, as if nothing in the world has ever needed to be different. The night holds steady, as if it has learned how to remain exactly as it is. There is no shift in it now, no rise or fall of anything noticeable. It has become a continuous presence, stretching evenly in all directions, surrounding the house with a calm that feels both near and far at the same time. Inside, the darkness is unchanged. It does not grow or lessen. It simply remains, soft and complete. The room is still fully there, its familiar shapes held gently in memory rather than sight. The person sits in the chair without movement. Stillness is no longer something chosen. It feels natural now, like a quiet agreement between body, space, and time. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath blends into the night around it, as if the air inside the room and the air outside are part of the same quiet rhythm. Outside, nothing moves. The clearing is fully absorbed into darkness. The trees are no longer separate shapes, only a sense of presence. The path is no longer a line, only a remembered direction. The garden is no longer detail, only a quiet space within the land. Everything remains. But everything is still. There is no wind now. Not even a suggestion of it. The world feels paused, though not frozen, just resting in a deep and steady calm. Inside, the house holds its gentle quiet. No creaks, no shifts, nothing breaking the silence. Even the air feels settled, as if it has chosen not to move unless necessary. Time feels distant. It no longer marks itself in any clear way. It simply continues, softly, without drawing attention. After a long period of stillness, there is a faint adjustment. The person shifts slightly in the chair. Very small. Almost nothing. The wood responds with a quiet sound, then returns to silence once more. No further movement follows. The night remains unchanged. Unbroken. Steady. At some point, the person rises again. The motion is slow, as always. There is no urgency, no sense of direction beyond familiarity. The chair is left behind without change. It remains exactly as it was, holding the shape of stillness. The person walks through the room. Each step is soft, nearly absorbed by the darkness itself. The house is so familiar that even without sight, there is no uncertainty. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a pause. A long, quiet pause. Then the person steps outside. The night continues without difference. It does not respond to movement. It does not change with presence. It simply remains, as it has been, as it will continue to be. The clearing is still beyond visibility, but fully present in feeling. Wide. Calm. Complete. No sound reaches it. No motion disturbs it. The person stands within it for a long time. Still. Breathing. Present. Nothing more. Then, as before, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness resumes. Not as a break in the night, but as part of its continuation. Everything remains as it has been. The night flows on without interruption, without change, without end that can be felt. And within it, the house and the quiet presence inside rest together in a calm so steady that even time itself feels like it has learned to be gentle. The night has reached a depth where it feels almost continuous, as if it has always been here and will remain exactly as it is for as long as anything can be felt. There is no sense of beginning anymore. No sense of direction. Only a steady, quiet presence that fills everything equally. Inside the house, the darkness is complete and familiar. It is not something that needs adjustment or understanding. It is simply the way the room exists now. The chair, the table, the hearth, the walls all are present, but only as awareness rather than sight. The person remains seated. Still. The body rests naturally, as though stillness is the only state that has ever existed. There is no tension, no anticipation. Only quiet existence. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath dissolves into the surrounding silence without leaving trace or distinction. Outside, the world is entirely hidden. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path, all of it exists beyond sight, but fully within presence. There is no separation between them anymore. Everything is part of the same quiet night. No wind moves. No sound changes. Even the faintest suggestion of motion has settled. Inside, the house feels perfectly calm. Not silent in the absence of sound, but silent in the presence of everything being exactly as it is. Time has no shape now. It does not pass. It does not pause. It simply continues in a way that cannot be measured or noticed. After a long stretch of stillness, there is a slight movement. The person shifts in the chair. Very small. A natural adjustment that fades almost immediately back into stillness. The chair gives a soft sound, then becomes quiet again. Nothing follows. No continuation. Only the same deep calm. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises once more. The movement is slow, familiar, and unremarkable. It feels less like action and more like a gentle transition within the same stillness. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been throughout the entire night. The person walks through the room. The darkness does not resist movement. It simply allows it, holding everything in soft continuity. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known through presence. There is a long pause. Completely still. Then the person steps outside. The night is the same as it has been. Not darker. Not lighter. Just present in its full quietness. The clearing remains beyond visibility, but not beyond awareness. Wide. Still. Unbroken. No breeze moves through it now. No sound carries across it. Everything rests. The person stands for a long time in the open space. No movement. No direction. Only being. Then, slowly, the return begins again. The house receives the presence without change, as it always has. Inside, the darkness remains soft and complete. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns once more. Not as something new, but as something continuous. As something that has never truly left. The night continues. Without shift. Without interruption. Without end that can be felt. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one steady, unbroken calm, like the world itself has finally learned how to rest and simply continue being. The night does not feel like it is moving forward anymore. It feels like it has already arrived everywhere it needs to be, and now it simply remains steady, complete, and without change. There is no edge to it, no direction within it, only a soft and endless presence that surrounds everything equally. Inside the house, the darkness is fully settled. It is no longer something noticeable. It has become the natural state of the room, like the air itself. The chair, the table, the hearth, the walls, each still exists, but none require seeing to be known. The person remains seated. Still. The posture is relaxed, unchanging, as if the body has fully accepted the quietness of the night. There is no anticipation in it. No waiting. Only presence. Breathing continues. Slow. Gentle. Each breath passes through without effort, becoming part of the same stillness that fills the room. Outside, there is no distinction left between objects. The clearing, the trees, the path, the garden, all of it is held in a single, unified quiet. Not separate pieces, but one continuous sense of space resting in darkness. No wind appears. No sound rises. Even the idea of movement feels distant now, like something remembered rather than experienced. Inside, the house feels completely calm. Not empty. Not full. Just present. Time no longer feels like something that moves from moment to moment. It feels like something that has settled into one long, uninterrupted state. After a long period of stillness, there is a faint shift. The person adjusts slightly in the chair. Barely noticeable. A natural settling deeper into rest. The wood beneath responds with a soft sound, then returns to silence. Nothing follows that movement. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises again. The motion is slow, familiar, almost indistinguishable from stillness itself. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it was, holding the shape of where the body had rested. The person walks through the room. Each step is quiet, absorbed by the darkness rather than interrupting it. The space is so familiar that there is no uncertainty, even without sight. The doorway is reached. Not visible. Only known. There is a pause. Long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as it has been. There is no shift in it. No response. Only continuation. The clearing exists beyond vision, but fully within awareness. It is wide and calm, resting in complete stillness. No wind passes through it. No movement stirs it. Everything is held in a quiet balance that feels unbroken. The person stands in the open space. No movement. No direction. Only presence. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness resumes. Not as something new. Not as something repeated. But as something continuous that has never truly been interrupted. The night continues. Not advancing. Not receding. Simply existing in a steady, unbroken calm. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in the same endless softness where nothing needs to happen for everything to feel complete. The night has now settled into something that feels almost timeless. Not because time has stopped, but because it no longer feels divided into moments that can be separated or noticed. It has become one continuous quiet presence, stretching evenly across everything without beginning or end. Inside the house, darkness remains steady. It is complete, but gentle. It does not press in. It does not feel heavy. It simply exists, like a soft covering over everything familiar. The chair, the table, the hearth, the walls all remain in their places, known without sight. The person remains seated. Still. There is no movement now that feels like it belongs to intention. Only the natural stillness of rest, as if the body has fully settled into the night and has no reason to be anything else. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath passes through without disturbance, blending into the surrounding silence, becoming part of it rather than separate from it. Outside, the world remains completely hidden. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path, all of it is still there, but it exists now as pure presence beyond the walls. No detail is needed for it to be known. It is simply part of the same quiet whole. No wind moves. No sound shifts. There is no indication of change anywhere in the night. Inside, the house holds a calm that feels complete. Not finished. Not unfinished. Just whole in its stillness. Time feels no longer like something that passes. It feels like something that rests. After a long interval, there is a subtle movement. The person shifts slightly in the chair. A small adjustment, almost indistinguishable from stillness itself. The wood beneath gives a faint sound, then returns to silence. Nothing follows. The night does not respond. It remains exactly as it has been. At some point, the person rises again. The motion is slow and natural, blending so softly into the surrounding darkness that it feels like part of the same quiet flow rather than a separate action. The chair is left behind. It remains unchanged, holding the memory of rest without needing to keep it. The person walks through the room. Each step is familiar, guided entirely by memory and presence. The darkness does not interrupt movement, it simply allows it. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only understood. There is a pause. Long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as before. No shift. No change. Only the same deep, continuous quiet. The clearing exists beyond sight but fully within awareness, wide, still, and completely at rest. No wind passes through it. No movement disturbs it. Everything rests in a unified calm that feels unbroken. The person stands for a long time. No movement. No direction. Only presence within the night. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change, without reaction. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns again. Not as repetition. Not as a cycle. But as continuation, something that has never truly stopped. The night continues. Endless in its calm. Uneventful in every possible way. And within it, the house and the quiet presence inside remain together in one continuous, peaceful stillness, as if the entire world has finally learned how to rest without ever needing to end. The night has become something that no longer feels like a part of time. It is not earlier or later. It is not moving toward anything. It simply exists, fully formed and completely still, as if it has always been this way and will continue without needing to become anything else. Inside the house, the darkness remains soft and complete. It is no longer something the mind notices. It has become the natural condition of the room, like silence that has always been present rather than something that arrived. The chair, the table, the hearth, the walls all remain quietly in place, held by familiarity rather than sight. The person remains seated. Still. There is no change in posture now, no need for adjustment. The body rests as if it has finally found the most natural position for stillness itself. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath passes without interruption, blending so gently into the surrounding quiet that it feels like part of the room rather than something happening within it. Outside, there is nothing to perceive. The clearing is not absent, it is simply fully absorbed into night. Trees, path, garden, fence, all of it exists as a single, unified sense of space beyond the walls, calm and undisturbed. No wind moves. No sound appears. Even the idea of motion feels distant now, like something belonging to another time that no longer reaches here. Inside, the house feels perfectly steady. Not alive in any noticeable way, and not empty either. It exists in a state between those ideas, simply present, simply resting. Time no longer feels divided. It does not pass. It does not pause. It only continues in a way that cannot be measured or marked. After a long, quiet span, there is a slight shift. The person adjusts in the chair. Very small. Almost indistinguishable from stillness itself. The wood beneath gives a faint, familiar sound, then returns to silence. Nothing follows that movement. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises again. The motion is slow and unforced, blending so naturally into the surrounding darkness that it feels less like action and more like continuation. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been throughout the night, holding the quiet shape of absence without needing to hold anything else. The person walks through the room. Each step is soft, guided by memory rather than sight. The space is so familiar that even in complete darkness, there is no hesitation. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a pause. Long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains unchanged. It does not respond. It does not shift. It simply continues, as it has been, as it will be. The clearing exists fully within that stillness, wide, open, and completely at rest. No detail is needed. Nothing is missing. No wind passes through it. No movement disturbs it. Everything holds its place within a single, quiet presence. The person stands for a long time. No movement. No direction. Only being within the night. Then, slowly, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change, as it always has. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness resumes. Not as repetition. Not as return. But as continuation of something that has never truly ended. The night continues. Without boundary. Without interruption. Without any need to become anything other than what it already is. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one endless, peaceful calm, so steady that even time itself feels like it has learned how to rest. The night has now settled into something so even and complete that it no longer feels like it is moving at all. It is simply present. A wide, steady stillness that holds everything without effort, without change, without any sense of direction. It does not begin anywhere, and it does not end anywhere. It just continues in quiet balance. Inside the house, darkness remains fully formed. It is soft rather than heavy, surrounding the room in a way that feels natural, almost expected. The chair, the table, the hearth, the walls all remain in their places, known without needing to be seen. The person remains seated. Still. There is no movement that feels separate from rest anymore. The body is fully settled into the night, as if it has agreed with everything around it to remain exactly as it is. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath passes through without disturbance, becoming part of the same quiet atmosphere that fills the room. Outside, there is no visible world anymore. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path all exist beyond sight, but not beyond presence. They are held in the same calm as everything else, unified in stillness. No wind appears. No sound shifts. Even silence feels deeper now, not because it grows, but because nothing interrupts it. Inside, the house feels completely at rest. Not empty. Not full. Just quietly existing in its own gentle way. Time no longer feels like something that moves forward. It feels like something that has settled into place and stopped asking to be noticed. After a long pause, there is a faint movement. The person shifts slightly in the chair. A small adjustment, almost indistinguishable from stillness itself. The wood beneath responds with a soft sound, then becomes silent again. Nothing follows. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises once more. The motion is slow, familiar, and unremarkable. It blends so completely into the surrounding darkness that it feels like part of the same quiet flow rather than a separate action. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been, holding the quiet memory of rest without needing to preserve anything more. The person walks through the room. Each step is gentle, guided entirely by familiarity. The darkness does not interrupt movement. It simply allows it, as it has allowed everything throughout the night. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a pause. long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as it was. There is no change in it. No reaction. Only continuation. The clearing is present beyond sight, but fully within awareness, wide, still, and completely at rest. Everything within it holds its place in perfect quiet. No wind moves. No sound breaks through. Everything remains suspended in calm. The person stands for a long time. No movement. No direction. Only presence within the night. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change, without acknowledgement, as if nothing has moved at all. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns again. Not as something new. Not as something repeated. But as something continuous that has never truly been interrupted. The night continues. Endless in its calm. Uneventful in every possible way. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one unbroken stillness so steady that even time itself feels like it has finally learned how to rest without needing to continue forward. The night has reached a depth where even deep feels like the wrong kind of word. There is no higher or lower point left to arrive at. Only this uneven, steady presence that holds everything gently in place, as if the world has finally settled into a long and quiet pause that does not ask to be ended. Inside the house, darkness remains complete and familiar. It is not something that surrounds the room from outside. It feels like something the room has become. The chair, the table, the hearth, the walls all exist without needing to be seen, held instead by memory and quiet awareness. The person remains seated. Still. There is no sense of waiting in the body, no sense of time passing through it in any noticeable way. It is simply rest, steady and unbroken, as if this position has always been the most natural state. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath passes through the silence without disturbing it, as though the air itself has learned how to remain perfectly calm. Outside, there is no visible world. Not because it is gone, but because it has fully merged with night. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path all are still present in a way that does not require sight or shape. Everything is simply there. Everything is still. No wind moves through anything now. No change occurs in the air. Even the idea of motion feels distant, like something remembered from a time that no longer touches this moment. Inside, the house is perfectly quiet. Not silent in the absence of sound, but silent in the presence of complete stillness. Time no longer feels like something flowing forward. It feels like something resting in place. After a long span of quiet, there is a very small movement. The person shifts slightly in the chair. Barely noticeable. Almost nothing. The wood beneath responds with a faint sound, then returns to silence. Nothing follows that movement. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises again. The motion is slow and familiar, blending so softly into the surrounding darkness that it feels like a continuation of stillness rather than an interruption of it. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been throughout the night, steady, unchanged, quietly holding the shape of absence. The person walks through the room. Each step is gentle, guided entirely by memory. The darkness does not resist movement. It simply holds it. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a long pause. Completely still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as it was. There is no shift in it. No change. Only continuation. The clearing is fully present beyond sight, but not beyond awareness. It rests in wide, complete stillness, held gently by the night without disturbance. No wind passes through it. No sound reaches it. Everything remains in a single, continuous calm. The person stands for a long time. No movement. No direction. Only being within the quiet of the night. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns again. Not as something that begins or ends, but as something that has never truly stopped. The night continues. Without boundary. Without interruption. Without any need to become anything other than what it already is. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one endless calm so steady and complete that even the idea of time feels like it has finally learned how to rest. The night now feels less like a condition and more like a quiet certainty. It does not need to prove itself. It does not need to deepen or expand. It simply is, fully settled, holding everything in a calm that feels both vast and close at the same time. Inside the house, darkness remains unchanged. It is steady, soft, and complete. There is no edge to it anymore, no contrast that would suggest separation between objects and space. Everything exists as one continuous sense of presence. The person remains seated. Still. There is no discomfort in the stillness, no urge to move, no sense that anything is missing. The body rests as if it has finally agreed with the night completely. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath passes without interruption, becoming part of the same quiet atmosphere that fills the room and everything beyond it. Outside, there is no visible world. Not in disappearance, but in unity with darkness. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path all remain present, but they are no longer separate from the night. They are part of it. No wind moves. No sound rises. Even silence feels settled now, like something that has finally found its place. Inside, the house feels fully at rest. Not asleep. Not awake. Just still in a way that does not ask to be defined. Time no longer feels like something moving forward. It feels like something that has softened into a continuous state, evenly spread across everything. After a long, quiet span, there is a slight movement. The person shifts in the chair. Very small. Almost indistinguishable from stillness itself. The wood beneath gives a faint sound, then becomes quiet again. Nothing follows that movement. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises once more. The motion is slow and familiar, blending so completely into the surrounding darkness that it feels like part of the same continuous stillness. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been throughout the night, unchanged, steady, quietly holding the absence of movement. The person walks through the room. Each step is soft, guided entirely by familiarity. The darkness does not resist or shape the movement. It simply allows it. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a pause. Long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as it was. There is no difference in it. No shift. No response. Only continuation. The clearing exists beyond sight, but fully within awareness. It is wide, still, and completely at rest, held gently by the night without interruption. No wind passes through it. No sound disturbs it. Everything remains in one quiet, unified presence. The person stands for a long time. No movement. No direction. Only presence within the night. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns again. Not as repetition. Not as cycle. But as continuation of something that has never truly been interrupted. The night continues. Endless in its calm. Uneventful in every possible way. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one unbroken stillness so steady that even time itself feels like it has finally learned how to rest completely, without needing to move forward at all. The night has now become something that no longer feels separate from anything else. It is not around the house. It is not above the land. It is simply everywhere at once, resting evenly across all things, holding them in a quiet continuity that does not ask to be noticed. Inside the house, darkness remains soft and complete. There is no variation in it now. No lighter corners, no deeper shadows that stand apart. Everything is held in one gentle, even stillness that feels natural and unchanging. The person remains seated. Still. The body is at ease in a way that feels final for this moment, not ending, but complete in its quietness. There is no tension, no anticipation, no thought of anything beyond the present stillness. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath blends so completely into the silence that it feels like part of the room itself, rather than something happening within it. Outside, there is no world that can be separated from the night anymore. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path all exist, but only as part of a single continuous presence. Nothing stands apart. Nothing calls attention to itself. No wind moves. No sound breaks through. Even silence feels fully settled, like it has finally become the natural state of everything. Inside, the house is perfectly still. Not empty. Not full. Just present in a way that no longer requires awareness of anything changing. Time no longer feels directional. It does not move forward. It does not return. It simply exists, evenly spread across everything without edge or boundary. After a long, quiet span, there is a faint movement. The person shifts slightly in the chair. Very small. Almost nothing. The wood beneath gives a soft sound, then returns to silence. Nothing follows. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises again. The motion is slow, familiar, and completely unremarkable. It blends so fully into the surrounding stillness that it feels like another form of resting rather than an action. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been, steady, unchanged, holding the quiet shape of absence. The person walks through the room. Each step is guided entirely by memory. The darkness does not create separation or uncertainty. It simply holds everything evenly. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a pause. Long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as before. There is no change in it. No response. Only continuation of the same steady presence that has held everything since the beginning of this quiet span. The clearing exists beyond sight, but fully within awareness. It is wide, still, and completely at rest. No wind passes through it. No movement disturbs it. Everything remains held in a single, unified calm. The person stands for a long time. No motion. No direction. Only presence within the night. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns again. Not as repetition. Not as cycle. But as continuation of something that has never been interrupted. The night continues. Without boundary. Without shift. Without any need to become anything other than what it already is. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one endless, peaceful calm so complete that even time itself feels like it has finally stopped asking to move at all. The night has settled into a state where even settling no longer feels like the right word. There is nothing left that shifts into place, because everything is already in place. The world, as it is now held, feels fully aligned with itself, quiet, steady, and unchanging in any way that can be felt. Inside the house, darkness remains complete and gentle. It does not press into the room. It does not spread or gather. It simply exists, evenly present in every corner, every surface, every familiar shape that is known without needing sight. The person remains seated. Still. There is no sense of waiting in the posture, no sense of time moving through the body. It is simply rest, continuous and unbroken, as if it has always been this way. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath passes through without resistance, becoming part of the same quiet atmosphere that fills the entire space. Outside, the world remains fully absorbed into night. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path, none of it is separate anymore in feeling. It all exists as one unified presence, held gently within the same stillness. No wind moves. No sound changes. Even silence feels complete now, as though it has reached its natural form and no longer needs to evolve. Inside, the house feels steady in a way that cannot be disturbed. Not fragile. Not strong. Just present. Time no longer feels like something passing from one moment to another. It feels like something that has fully settled into itself and stopped dividing into pieces. After a long period of stillness, there is a faint adjustment. The person shifts slightly in the chair. Very small. Almost indistinguishable from the surrounding quiet. The wood beneath gives a soft sound, then returns to silence. Nothing follows that movement. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises once more. The motion is slow and familiar, blending so completely into the surrounding darkness that it feels like an extension of stillness itself rather than a departure from it. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been throughout the night, unchanged, steady, quietly holding the absence of movement. The person walks through the room. Each step is guided entirely by memory. The darkness does not create separation. It simply holds everything in place. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a pause. Long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as it was. There is no difference in it. No shift. No response. Only continuation. The clearing exists beyond sight, but fully within awareness, wide, still, and completely at rest. No wind passes through it. No movement disturbs it. Everything remains held in a single, quiet unity. The person stands for a long time. No movement. No direction. only presence within the night. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns again. Not as repetition. Not as return. But as continuation of something that has never truly been interrupted at all. The night continues. Endless in its calm. Uneventful in every possible way. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one unbroken stillness so steady that even the idea of time itself feels like it has finally come to rest and no longer needs to move forward at all. The night now feels less like something surrounding the world and more like something the world is resting inside. There is no sense of distance between the house and the darkness anymore. No boundary that separates inside from outside in any meaningful way. Everything feels gently joined in the same quiet presence. Inside the house, stillness remains complete. The darkness is soft and even, without variation or edge. It does not hide the room so much as allow it to rest in a different kind of visibility, one that does not depend on light. The person remains seated. Still. There is no movement in the body that suggests time is passing. Only the steady, natural continuation of being at rest. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath blends into the surrounding silence, leaving no trace of separation between the person and the space around them. Outside, the world remains fully quiet. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path all exist as part of a single, unified stillness. Nothing stands apart anymore in feeling. Everything is held together by the same calm. No wind moves. No sound changes. Even silence feels settled, as if it has reached its most natural form and no longer needs to adjust. Inside, the house is calm in a way that feels complete. Not finished. Not ongoing. Simply present, without tension or expectation. Time no longer feels structured. It does not move forward in steps. It does not return in cycles. It simply exists as a soft continuity that cannot be divided. After a long stretch of stillness, there is a faint shift. The person adjusts slightly in the chair. A small movement. Almost nothing. The wood beneath gives a quiet sound, then becomes still again. Nothing follows that movement. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises again. The motion is slow, natural, and completely familiar. It blends so fully into the surrounding darkness that it feels like part of the same continuous stillness rather than a separate action. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been, steady, unchanged, quietly holding the memory of rest. The person walks through the room. Each step is soft and certain, guided entirely by familiarity. The darkness does not interrupt or obscure movement. It simply allows it. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a pause. Long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as before. There is no shift in it. No reaction. Only continuation of the same steady presence that has held everything throughout this long quiet span. The clearing exists beyond sight, but fully within awareness. It is wide, still, and completely at rest. No wind passes through it. No movement disturbs it. Everything remains held in a single, unified calm that feels unbroken in every direction. The person stands for a long time. No movement. No direction. Only presence within the night. Then, as always, the return begins. the house receives the presence without change. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns again. Not as something new. Not as something repeated. But as continuation of something that has never truly stopped. The night continues. Without boundary. Without interruption. Without any need to become anything other than what it already is. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one endless, peaceful calm so steady and complete that even time itself feels like it has finally dissolved into rest and no longer needs to move at all. The night has reached a point where even its presence feels unremarkable in the most peaceful way. There is no longer anything to adjust to, nothing to notice changing, nothing that asks for attention. It is simply here steady, even, and complete in its quiet existence. Inside the house, darkness remains unchanged. It is soft and full, filling the room without weight or pressure. The familiar shapes of the chair, table, hearth, and walls continue to exist in the same quiet arrangement, known entirely through memory and presence. The person remains seated. Still. There is no urgency in the body, no sense of time passing through it. It rests in a way that feels natural, as if stillness has become its most comfortable state. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath moves through the silence without altering it, becoming part of the same calm that fills the entire space. Outside, the world is fully absorbed into night. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path all remain present, but no longer as separate forms. They exist as one continuous quietness beyond the walls. No wind moves. No sound shifts. Even silence feels fully settled, as though it has reached its most complete expression. Inside, the house is calm in every sense. Not empty. Not full. Simply existing in a state of gentle balance. Time no longer feels structured or directional. It does not move forward. It does not return. It simply is. After a long stretch of stillness, there is a faint movement. The person shifts slightly in the chair. Very small. Almost indistinguishable from stillness itself. The wood beneath responds with a soft sound, then returns to silence. Nothing follows that movement. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises again. The motion is slow and familiar, blending so naturally into the surrounding darkness that it feels like part of the same continuous presence rather than a separate action. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been throughout the night, steady, unchanged, quietly holding the absence of movement. The person walks through the room. Each step is guided entirely by familiarity. The darkness does not create separation or uncertainty. It simply allows everything to exist as it is. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a pause. Long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as before. There is no shift in it. No response. Only continuation. The clearing exists beyond sight, but fully within awareness, wide, still, and completely at rest. No wind passes through it. No movement disturbs it. Everything remains held in a single, unified calm that feels complete in every direction. The person stands for a long time. No movement. No direction. Only presence within the night. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns again. Not as repetition. Not as cycle. But as continuation of something that has never been interrupted at all. The night continues. Endless in its calm. Uneventful in every possible way. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one unbroken stillness so steady that even the idea of time itself feels like it has finally faded into complete rest, without beginning or end. The night continues in a way that no longer feels like continuation. It feels like permanence. Not something that began earlier and is still going, but something that simply exists in this form without any memory of becoming. Everything rests in a quiet completeness that does not need to be understood. Inside the house, darkness remains soft and total. It does not change in tone or depth. It simply holds the room as it is, gently and evenly. The chair, the table, the hearth, the walls all are still present, but none require sight to be known. The person remains seated. Still. There is no sense of time passing through the body. No anticipation. No reflection. Only presence within stillness. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath moves through the silence without leaving any trace of separation, as if air, body, and space have become part of the same quiet continuity. Outside, the world remains fully absorbed into night. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path all exist as one unified presence beyond the walls. Nothing is separate enough anymore to feel distinct. No wind moves. No sound changes. Even silence feels complete, as though it has settled into its final form. Inside, the house is calm beyond any need for adjustment. Not empty. Not full. Just steady. Time no longer feels like something that progresses or repeats. It feels like something that has softened into a continuous state of being. After a long period of stillness, there is a faint shift. The person adjusts slightly in the chair. Very small. Almost indistinguishable from stillness itself. The wood beneath responds with a soft sound, then returns to silence. Nothing follows that movement. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises once more. The motion is slow, natural, and completely familiar. It blends so fully into the surrounding darkness that it feels like part of the same continuous quiet rather than a separate action. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been, steady, unchanged, quietly holding the absence of movement. The person walks through the room. Each step is guided entirely by memory. The darkness does not create separation or uncertainty. It simply holds everything in place. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a pause. Long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as it was. There is no change in it. No response. Only continuation. The clearing exists beyond sight, but fully within awareness. It is wide, still, and completely at rest. No wind passes through it. No movement disturbs it. Everything remains held in a single, unified calm that feels unbroken in every direction. The person stands for a long time. No movement. No direction. Only presence within the night. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns again. Not as repetition. Not as cycle. But as continuation of something that has never truly been interrupted. The night continues. without boundary, without shift, without any need to become anything other than what it already is. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one endless calm so steady and complete that even time itself feels like it has fully dissolved into rest, leaving only quiet, unbroken being. The night now feels like it has no edges at all. Not because it is vast in any visible way, but because nothing within it suggests separation anymore. Everything is held together so gently, so evenly, that it becomes difficult to imagine anything ever being different from this. Inside the house, darkness remains fully settled. It is not something that arrives or deepens anymore. It is simply the condition of the room, soft, even, and completely familiar. The chair, the table, the hearth, the walls all continue to exist in quiet presence, known without sight or effort. The person remains seated. Still. There is no sense of transition in the body, no awareness of time moving through it. It rests in a way that feels continuous, as if stillness has become its natural state. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath passes through without resistance, dissolving into the silence around it, leaving no separation between the one who breathes and the space that holds it. Outside, the world remains fully absorbed into night. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path all exist as part of a single, unified quietness beyond the walls. Nothing stands apart anymore in feeling or presence. No wind moves. No sound changes. Even silence feels complete and settled, as though it has reached its most natural form and has no further need to shift. Inside, the house is steady in every way that can be felt. Not fragile. Not firm. Just present. Time no longer feels structured or directional. It does not move forward. It does not loop back. It simply continues as an even, unbroken state of being. After a long span of stillness, there is a faint movement. The person shifts slightly in the chair. Very small. Almost indistinguishable from stillness itself. The wood beneath gives a soft sound, then becomes silent again. Nothing follows that movement. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises again. The motion is slow, natural, and entirely familiar. It blends so fully into the surrounding darkness that it feels like part of the same continuous quiet rather than a separate action. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been, steady, unchanged, quietly holding the absence of movement. The person walks through the room. Each step is guided entirely by memory. The darkness does not create separation or uncertainty. It simply allows everything to remain as it is. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a pause. Long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as before. There is no shift in it. No response. Only continuation. The clearing exists beyond sight, but fully within awareness. It is wide, still, and completely at rest, held gently within the same calm that fills everything. No wind passes through it. No movement disturbs it. Everything remains in a single, unified stillness. The person stands for a long time. No motion. No direction. Only presence within the night. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns again. Not as something new. Not as something repeated. but as continuation of something that has never truly been interrupted at all. The night continues. Without boundary. Without shift. Without any need to become anything other than what it already is. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one endless calm so complete and steady that even time itself feels like it has fully dissolved, leaving only quiet, continuous stillness that does not end. The night has become so steady that it no longer feels like something that surrounds the world. It feels like something the world is resting inside of. There is no separation left that can be felt. No clear boundary between space and stillness, between inside and outside, between house and land. Everything rests in one continuous quiet. Inside the house, darkness remains soft and even. It does not press or expand. It simply exists, fully settled in every corner of the room. The chair, the table, the hearth, the walls all remain quietly present, known without sight, held by familiarity alone. The person remains seated. Still. There is no sense of change in the body, no awareness of time passing through it. It rests in a way that feels complete for this moment, as if nothing else is required. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath passes through the silence without disturbance, becoming part of it rather than something separate from it. Outside, the world remains fully absorbed into night. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path all exist as one unified presence beyond the walls. Nothing stands apart anymore in feeling or awareness. No wind moves. No sound shifts. Even silence feels fully settled, as though it has reached its most natural and complete form. Inside, the house is calm in a way that no longer needs acknowledgement. Not empty. Not full. Simply present. Time no longer feels like something that moves or returns. It feels like something that has softened into a continuous, unbroken state. After a long span of stillness, there is a faint movement. The person shifts slightly in the chair. Very small. Almost indistinguishable from stillness itself. The wood beneath gives a soft sound, then returns to silence. Nothing follows that movement. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises again. The motion is slow, natural, and completely familiar. It blends so fully into the surrounding darkness that it feels like an extension of stillness rather than a departure from it. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been, steady, unchanged, quietly holding the absence of movement. The person walks through the room. Each step is guided entirely by memory. The darkness does not create separation or uncertainty. It simply holds everything in place. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a pause. Long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as it was. There is no change in it. No response. Only continuation. The clearing exists beyond sight, but fully within awareness. It is wide, still, and completely at rest, held gently within the same calm that fills everything. No wind passes through it. No movement disturbs it. Everything remains in a single, unified stillness. The person stands for a long time. No motion. No direction. Only presence within the night. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns again. Not as repetition. Not as cycle. but as continuation of something that has never truly been interrupted. The night continues. Without boundary. Without shift. Without any need to become anything other than what it already is. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one endless calm so steady that even time itself feels like it has completely dissolved, leaving only quiet, unbroken being that simply rests and continues. The night has settled into something so even that it no longer feels like it is changing at all. It does not grow deeper, because there is no deeper place left to reach. It does not grow lighter, because there is no light left to return. It simply remains, steady and complete, like a long and quiet breath held across everything. Inside the house, darkness remains fully present. It is soft, unbroken, and familiar. It does not conceal the room so much as allow it to exist without needing definition. The chair, the table, the hearth, the walls all remain in their places, held gently by memory and stillness. The person remains seated. Still. There is no sense of time moving through the body anymore. No sense of beginning or continuation. Only rest, steady and uninterrupted, as if nothing else has ever been needed. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. Each breath passes through without resistance, dissolving into the silence around it, becoming part of the same continuous calm that fills the space. Outside, the world remains fully absorbed into night. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path all exist as one quiet presence beyond the walls. Nothing is separate enough to feel distinct anymore. No wind moves. No sound shifts. Even silence feels fully complete, as though it has reached a state where nothing more needs to happen. Inside, the house is calm in every sense that can be felt. Not empty. Not full. Simply present, in a way that no longer requires attention or awareness to exist. Time no longer feels structured. It does not move forward. It does not return. It simply continues as an even, unbroken presence. After a long stretch of stillness, there is a faint movement. The person shifts slightly in the chair. Very small. Almost indistinguishable from stillness itself. The wood beneath gives a soft sound, then returns to silence. Nothing follows that movement. The night remains unchanged. At some point, the person rises again. The motion is slow, natural, and entirely familiar. It blends so completely into the surrounding darkness that it feels like part of the same continuous quiet rather than a separate action. The chair is left behind. It remains exactly as it has been, steady, unchanged, quietly holding the absence of movement. The person walks through the room. Each step is guided entirely by memory. The darkness does not create separation or uncertainty. It simply holds everything in place. The doorway is reached. Not seen. Only known. There is a pause. Long and still. Then the person steps outside. The night remains exactly as before. There is no change in it. No response. Only continuation. The clearing exists beyond sight, but fully within awareness. It is wide, still, and completely at rest, held gently within the same calm that fills everything. No wind passes through it. No movement disturbs it. Everything remains in a single, unified stillness. The person stands for a long time. No motion. No direction. Only presence within the night. Then, as always, the return begins. The house receives the presence without change. Inside, darkness remains soft and even. The chair is reached. The person sits. Stillness returns again. Not as repetition. Not as cycle. But as continuation of something that has never truly been interrupted at all. The night continues. Without boundary. Without shift. Without any need to become anything other than what it already is. And within it, the house, the land, and the quiet presence inside remain together in one endless calm so steady and complete that even time itself feels like it has fully dissolved, leaving only quiet, continuous stillness that simply rests without end. The night has stayed the same for so long now that even the idea of it changing feels distant, like a memory of something that no longer applies. Everything rests. Not in a way that suggests waiting. Not in a way that suggests ending. Just resting, as if rest was always the only natural state the world was meant to have. Inside the house, darkness is complete and gentle. It does not feel like absence. It feels like presence without effort. The chair, the table, the hearth, the walls all remain, but none of them need to be noticed anymore to be real. The person remains seated. Still. There is no movement that follows thought, no thought that follows time. Only quiet existence, steady and unbroken, as if the need for anything else has long since softened away. Breathing continues. Slow. Even. And then, even that begins to feel like part of the silence itself, no longer something separate from it. Outside, the world is fully at rest. The clearing, the trees, the garden, the path, none of it feels distant or close. It simply is, held in the same calm presence that fills everything else. No wind moves. No sound returns. Even silence feels complete now, not as emptiness, but as fullness that has settled and no longer needs to shift. Inside, the house holds a quiet that feels complete in every direction. Not ending. Not continuing. Just being. Time no longer feels like something that passes at all. It feels like something that has gently dissolved into stillness, leaving no direction behind. There is a final small movement. Not an action toward anything. Not a response to anything. Just a soft settling. The chair does not creak. The room does not react. Everything remains as it is. And in that stillness, even the idea of returning or leaving no longer feels necessary. The house, the land, the night, none of them are separate now. They are one quiet presence. One continuous calm. And within it, nothing needs to happen for everything to be whole. No beginning remains to be remembered. No ending remains to be reached. Only this. A still world, resting gently within itself. Quiet, steady, and finally at peace.